Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55 Live. We are taking your questions today. I got the one and only Top Gun Italiano here with the glasses, looking like Maverick or what, Goose maybe? I don't know. Hey, whatever, you know. Hey, we're gonna take your questions today on this all question Ask Us Anything OG55 Live. Let's go. Welcome aboard, everybody, to this OG55 Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to all who come to this happy place,
welcome to Orange Grove 55.
There we go. There we go. It is official. We are doing that Ask Us Anything episode. We got a lot of questions in the chat already. Awesome to see it. The Italiano is back in the house. Mr. George, it's good to have you back, sir.
Thanks for having me back on. I love doing these lives with you. It's always good. It's always a good time having everyone in the chat, answering the questions, talking about the stuff that we have a passion over, which is the Walt Disney Company. And as I said, it's always a good time.
Absolutely. Where can they find you on social media, sir? Except your OnlyFans. We can't have that on the show, brother. Family
of course. Show. Yes, of course. If you'd like to find me on social media, you could do so on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Ever since I got that drop, I can't help myself.
You can't.
It's just so good. It's just so good. There we go. All right, Mr. Lord Jonathan. Question: could Disney announce a new acquisition in 2024? I know you didn't support video game acquisition, but what could Disney acquire to keep the company and move it forward in the future so other companies can't acquire it? You know, honestly, Jonathan, Disney's big enough right now where very few companies could actually afford it. Very few companies could actually make that move. I mean, you have a few here. You have like an Apple. I'm pretty sure Amazon could probably do it. Like, there's a few. I don't think Disney really needs to get in there and buy anything major. And to be honest with you, right now is kind of a period of kind of healing financially for the Walt Disney Company. I think acquiring a massive amount of debt is not the right move right now. You know, we just sent a check to Snake Oil, Brian Roberts of Comcast, for this Hulu thing, right? For like what, $9 or $10 billion. And it might even go higher, based on the appraisal process. They might have to even shell out even more. Disney shouldn't get into the business right now of acquiring anything. I think if anything, they can even afford to go a little leaner if possible. But yeah, Jonathan, I think we're okay right now. I don't think any company right now is going to be acquiring the Walt Disney Company. I think we're safe. But we'll see. The Italiano, what are your thoughts on this, man? Should Disney make another big purchase to make it even bigger so nobody can come in and try to take it?
No, I think right now Disney is in a position where they can't do anything, unfortunately, nor do I really think that they should. As you had mentioned, after purchasing the remaining stake of Hulu and after that ridiculous major buy of Fox, I think, honestly, they have, as you mentioned, they have some wounds to be healed financially with that. And I think Disney is in a position where they have enough that they had already acquired, right. So I feel like if anything else needs to be, I think it, because you don't want to just go and purchase something just for the sake of saying you want it, just so another company doesn't get it. It has to have a meshed comparison.
It has to make sense, right? It has to make sense. Like, you don't want to just go in there just buying to buy just to get bigger. You want to, if you're going to make a big purchase, it has to make sense for the Walt Disney Company. And it's kind of unnecessary. Like I said, the company's big enough right now where they're not really they're big enough where very few other companies can afford them. And I think things are stabilizing a little bit right now. I think we're okay. Lord Jonathan. But thank you so much for the question. That was a really good one. CSRS here says, what do you think are the future lands and IP on deck for Hollywood studios, and what areas could be replaced for them. Okay, other lands and IP. Well, here's the thing, CSRS. I would love to see, I know a lot of people maybe wouldn't like this. It might be unpopular, but I would hope that Disney would get the Marvel rights in Florida, right? Because I think Hollywood Studios, it'd be kind of cool to have all the studios of the Walt Disney Company kind of represented in their own little land, maybe, or little areas in Hollywood Studios, and have kind of like a park that represents all the studios of Disney. So you can have a Lucasfilm land. You can maybe build maybe an Indiana Jones thing, like maybe put the attraction over there and connect it to like Galaxy's Edge and things like that. So you have Lucasfilm over there. If you get the Marvel rights, you can have a Marvel land, you can have a Pixar land, a Disney animation land, and just have all the studios of the Walt Disney Company. Ideally, that's what I would love to see. I would love to see that. You could even rename the park the Wonderful Worlds of Disney, right? I think it'd be kind of neat. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. But I don't know. I mean, look, we just acquired Fox, back in 2019. I mean, you could theoretically, you could put some Fox stuff in there, right? I mean, maybe not some Marvel Fox stuff, but you can do like Planet of the Apes. You can do Alien, things like that. I mean, I think those kind of franchises will work really well in Hollywood Studios. So there's options. They definitely need to address this park, though. I loved it. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. But there are areas that need help. Animation Courtyard's a perfect example. Rock and Roller Coaster, I think we got a question on that actually later on. We'll talk about it, but I think that attraction probably needs a retheme to some degree. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. But what are your thoughts on this, the Italiano?
I think honestly, your idea is very clever, OG. But yeah, I feel like if Disney was in the position after purchasing Fox, I feel like in that moment they probably might have kept the Great Movie Ride, because they could have done a lot of updating where it could have been a Fox-based type of attraction, which some aspects already had with aliens or and what have you. They could even maybe added maybe like a scene or two from Avatar,
Right.
and do a lot of updating. They still had a scene from Indiana Jones and what have you. So I feel like that they probably could have kept the Great Movie Ride, which I mean, as I said, don't get me started with the Great Movie Ride. I'm sorry. Like that's, as I said, I love Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I do. I love that it's at Walt Disney World. I love it even better at Disneyland, but they could have had 1,001 places for the amount of land that's in Walt Disney World right now to put Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and they had to get rid of the Great Movie Ride. I am still very salty about that.
Yeah. Well, Disney World is very bad with space management. We do a much better job here at Disneyland Resort. I mean, we got Galaxy's Edge and Runaway Railway and barely lost anything for it, except how much backstage. In Florida, it's like you guys have the blessing of size, and it's just like it's a mess, dude.
I know it's crazy, but I do like your notion of kind of combining all the properties that Disney owns into one park, and I love that title, by the way. I think that's absolutely perfect. Yeah, I feel like if Disney was to acquire the full on rights to Marvel, whether it's east and west coast of the east and west of the Mississippi River, then they could do a lot more, and I think Marvel would be heavily involved inside Hollywood Studios. But as I mentioned before, that animation courtyard is hideous. They need to do something with it. And as I said, knock down a few walls, go through a little bit of the backstage area, connect it to the area where the Lightning McQueen show is and Rock and Roller Coaster, right, which, as you mentioned, we'll touch upon that in a little bit. And then just maybe create like one big new massive area that could just be dedicated to probably to Fox. I would say that probably could have been like a Fox type of area.
I'm down with that. Hollywood Studios, you can definitely bring in Fox. It's a little edgier, a little older, but I think for that kind of park, I think it works. Obviously, you're not going to put that like in Disneyland or in even like Magic Kingdom, but for Hollywood Studios, Fox stuff would work really good. Yeah, really, really good. So yeah, we'll see. Great question. CSRS continues with, how big of a reboot do you think the MCU will undergo post Secret Wars? Will there be all new heroes or existing ones, albeit focusing on a younger generation of Avengers? I think the future of the MCU, to be honest with you, CSRS, is the X-Men. I really do. I think all chips are in on that. I don't think a young Avengers theme is a great idea, because who would be part of that group? Like the characters right now, because the characters right now aren't really doing that great, right? Like you bring in, look, I like Miss Marvel. I think she's cool and everything, but like, are these characters bringing in like box office or anything like that? Not really, you know what I'm saying? So to have like an Avengers team based on that, I don't know. Unless it's a different group of young Avengers, maybe, I guess. But I would go X-Men. That's kind of the direction I'm thinking. I mean, I guess you can sprinkle in, you said, forego the existing ones. I don't necessarily think you forego them entirely. Maybe you can sprinkle them in. But I think the focus, if you have the X-Men and you kind of go in that direction, I think you're in good hands. What are your thoughts, George?
I think, honestly, the route that Marvel is going, I think they're going a little bit too heavy on comedy with these characters. And so it's almost like you can't really take them too serious, where in the very beginning, it was very subtle, where it was part of the characters' personalities.
Well, and then you had like a mix, right? So you had like a Winter Soldier, which was like super serious, right?
Yeah.
Like a spy thriller kind of thing or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then you had like a few years later, you had Guardians. So you kind of had a little bit of everything. And now you're right, George. It seems leaning way more on the comedy side. It's like,
yeah. And it's like not even like real, like strong comedy. It's almost like these like they're getting these amateur comedians to be these superheroes, because it's like they're trying so hard, and it's like it's very unappealing. But I do agree with you. I feel like the way to go is with X-Men, and hopefully that they can get it right with the Fantastic Four, because I feel like between the two of them, as long as they kind of get away from just that all on slapstick comedy type thing, I think that they'll do fine.
Yeah, 100%. CS continues here. Depending on how big of a reboot the MCU gets, is it possible Disney replaces Avengers Campus with another Marvel land that is more all-encompassing, with rides that can be more easily updated? We talked about this, actually. I think it was on the last live show with Slimer, where it was like, was it a mistake for Disney to name this area Avengers Campus? Because maybe the Avengers aren't always going to be the focus of the MCU. Maybe they're not always going to be the focus of Marvel. So maybe you just call it Marvel Land or Superhero something, right? Superhero Square or whatever, right? Maybe that's the route they should go in. In hindsight, maybe, because as the MCU kind of evolves over the years, the Avengers might not necessarily be the prime focus. So I would support something like that. Absolutely, where it would bring in more opportunities too, I think, for the land in terms of expansions, new additions, and what have you. Go ahead, George.
And that's kind of like what they did wrong with Galaxy's Edge. It's like they kind of shoebox themselves into this one scenario where it's like you can't go out of that storyline. So if you kind of have it more broad, then you can kind of have more to play with, so to speak.
Right.
And I think right now, Avengers really isn't the hot ticket it used to be, unfortunately. I feel like it kind of dipped down right after Endgame, which is understandable. It was the end of that saga, so it's like
it was the end.
Exactly.
But you're right, though. You're right. It's just not. So they might have to go with a more all-encompassing sort of thing. Like, Universal has Island of Adventure, right? But they have Superhero Island. It's a little bit more generic, a little bit more all-encompassing. Maybe Disney goes in that route. We'll see. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential there, though, if they want to kind of rework it. Now, I don't even know if they can legally do like, it's weird because even out here in California, they don't really use Marvel, though. You notice that
they don't.
So I don't even know if there is some legal restriction.
I think there is. Even though they can add them into the parks necessarily and use the characters, I don't think they can use the word Marvel.
Yeah. I think you're right, because you don't see it in our land at all, which is very, very interesting. CSRS here says, could Mickey Mouse get another ride at Disney parks beyond Runaway Railway? Yeah, anything is possible. I mean, Toy Story has multiple rides, right? You got Buzz Lightyear, you have Midway Mania. It has a few rides. It's possible. I would guess no, though. If I were a betting man, I would say probably not. I think one Mickey ride is enough. I think what they do need is an Oswald ride if they're going to do anything. And that's,
exactly. Come on.
That's what I would do. But yeah, I think 2 Mickey rides, I don't know. It depends on the concept, I guess. But what are your thoughts, George?
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe down the line. I don't think they need one right now, just off of the back of opening Runaway Railway. I think, sometimes too much cannot be such a good thing. You don't want to overly drown that notion. Not saying that you can't have enough Mickey Mouse. I mean, he's the staple face of
Right.
the company, but I think that if they were to do like a Mickey through the years type of thing to kind of pay homage to him as a character of how he grown and changed and evolved, and so you
Right.
start out in black and white and move into color, I think that would be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool. And that would actually be a great maybe attraction for like a Hollywood Studios or like well, you can't do Hollywood Studios because they got Runaway Railway. But for like DCA though, I think that'd be kind of cool. Like in Hollywood Land, that'd be kind of a neat little concept. So yeah, it depends on the direction they go in. But I think we're good for a while, like George was saying, because we just got a Mickey ride. You don't want to kind of overdo it, CSRS continues with so far that Warner Paramount deal is not working out. So is it possible that Paramount goes to Netflix instead and WB goes to Comcast Universal? Here's the thing with that, CS. I've been seeing a lot of that on Twitter that I guess like Paramount rejected like Zazzy's offer or something like that. These things are not like a one offer and then we walk away kind of situation, right? These kind of acquisitions and mergers and these big corporate deals, it's usually a lot of back and forth. It's an offer, a counter offer, an offer, a counter offer, negotiations, things like that. So is it possible that maybe Warner Brothers Paramount declined Zazzy's first offer? Yeah, probably, but that doesn't mean the deal is dead. And, this is part of a long process, and almost all these deals have a back and forth to some degree. So I'm not so sure about that. But I do know, though, I'm very confident that Comcast wants Warner Brothers. Absolutely. When we saw Sherman from CNBC, when that news broke about Paramount and Warner Brothers, Sherman was out there like tweeting like crazy about but what about Comcast? But what about Comcast, right? The Comcast employee, Sherman, was all about it. He wanted to let everybody know that Comcast was in the running here. You know what I'm saying? That was not by accident. Okay. They want Warner. They absolutely want Warner. And what they could do is they could, like a lot of people say, well, what about the regulatory like kind of hurdles and what have you? If Comcast were to offload NBC, because obviously you couldn't have Warner Brothers stuff. If they offloaded the NBC stuff to acquire Warner Brothers, it might get through. You never know. So there's ways they can kind of finagle that to kind of get it through the regulatory process. It's going to be a challenge no matter what, but it's not impossible. And the amount of IP that Comcast would acquire with Warner Brothers, I'm talking like legendary characters like the Looney Tunes, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, DC, okay, Harry Potter. The library that Universal would acquire overnight would be a massive boon for Universal and their parks. Could you imagine? Game of Thrones would be theirs? It would be insane. So I think that Comcast is very much interested. They're definitely a player in this. But I wouldn't necessarily discount the idea of Warner and WB making a deal, though. You just never know. It's way too early to say that deal is cooked. Way, way too early. What are your thoughts, George?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I feel like just because something doesn't go right with these companies and there's no deal or no merger, what have you, it's not a one strike you're out sort of kind of scenario.
Right.
These companies go back and forth, as you had mentioned, OG, different pathways, different obligations, different kind of ways to will in and deal, so I'm for sure that there's something going on right now behind the scenes that at this very moment that we may not even, know until something
you buy a house, right? So you buy a house, you make an offer. Okay, the seller makes a counter offer, then you make an offer. Like it's a back and forth. So yeah, just rejecting the first offer isn't necessarily, that doesn't mean that the deal is cooked. And I haven't heard any like real big reputable folks. Like I haven't seen like Matt Bellani or anybody like high on the food chain, so to speak, really talk about the deal being dead. So I don't even know how much that is even true. I don't know if that's just like a Twitter rumor that just kind of caught fire, But yeah, I wouldn't put too much weight into that. I think it's far from over. Far from over.
I agree.
Yep. Matthew Murr here says, do you prefer the original version of Once Upon a Studio or version 2.0, which I made? Only OG will probably be able to answer this because I'm not sure if George has seen it. Yeah, I don't think George has seen it. Matthew, you emailed it to me, and I thought it was fantastic. I absolutely loved your version of it. Of course, Matthew, I choose yours, your family here. It was very, very creative, very well done. George, I'll forward it to you. And maybe next time, Matthew, we have you on the channel, we'll kind of go over it and talk about it because I thought it was a great version of that story. So I think next time you come on, it'd be kind of fun to kind of break that down and kind of discuss what you did with it. So absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Or hear about it. Yeah.
Yep. Roger G 808. If you read the Anaheim Environmental Impact Report, the Disneyland Resort connection to the expansion may be at Pooh's Corner, Hungry Bear, and the DCA connection near the Boardwalk Pizza. What do you want to see in the expansions? Okay, so I've made no bones about it. I think there's a couple of things that I would be rooting for California Adventure. A massive Latin area. You can have Coco, even Encanto, Three Caballeros. I think you can do it basically like a Spanish village or whatever what you want to do. It can be kind of like a California Adventure, like New Orleans, so to speak, with the quaint little streets. You can have like food vendors, music, the whole thing. It would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. If you've been to DCA recently, and I was actually just a few days ago, that Feliz Navidad celebration with the Three Caballeros, the energy is through the roof. It's contagious. I put that energy into a permanent land at DCA, and you have gold, absolute gold. So that's what I would do is a Latin land.
And we kind of touched upon this, I believe, on the last live show as well, where you don't necessarily need to have an IP land, so to speak, where it's designed to look like scenes from the movie. Right. You can just have a cultural outlook of a specific kind of country or culture, what have you, and then incorporate, inspiring the IPs to go fleshed into that land, just as you had mentioned, which I completely agree with you, OG. I mean, we've been saying that consistently, with the Latin and the Hispanic culture that is California, California Adventure, I mean, it's right there. Come on, Disney.
It makes sense. And Disney does this a lot though, right? Like they kind of beta test things to kind of see what works in certain areas. Like before we knew of Avengers Campus, you saw a lot of the Marvel characters out in Hollywood Land, which is right there next to where it ultimately went, right? The fact that they do the Feliz Navidad stuff over there by the Boardwalk Pizza and all that kind of shows you that's where their mind is at. They're kind of testing it a little bit. The Coco Familia stuff is also there. From like I believe it was like October, if I'm not mistaken. They're gauging it. They're gauging popularity for this kind of thing in California Adventure, more specifically that area. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if it eventually happens. And I hope so. Now, in terms of Disneyland, I would rather see like a Pandora over there. I know that the rumor is that it's going into DCA. I don't know. That's a stretch for me. And I'm pretty forgiving with the theme and stuff, but that is like kind of a bridge too far, in my opinion. I would put maybe like Pandora over there for the Disneyland expansion part. That's more of a Disneyland property. It's more fantasy, like high fantasy. So that's kind of the route I would go in. Oh, and also I almost forgot too. Another possibility for DCA. I'm showing my DCA bias tonight, but I love that park. Is my version of Zootopia over there. You could do that as well. You can have a Los Angeles version of Zootopia, but have like Los Angeles landmarks like the Walt Disney Concert Hall, but in that kind of like that Zootopia style. I think that would fit beautifully in DCA. Obviously make it Los Angeles, but that Zootopia style, that would work really well in that expansion pad as well. But George, Disneyland, what would you do, brother?
For DCA, I'm right there with you. I would do that Latin Hispanic kind of land, but incorporate the IPs as you had mentioned with Coco and Encanto and the Three Caballeros. So I mean that is perfect for DCA. For Disneyland Park, I would love to see a major expansion to incorporate more of Fantasyland, where they can touch upon even more IPs with the Disney fairy tale catalog, if you will. Maybe even incorporate something more with the villains. I'm team Disney villains. I'm sorry. I would just love to see more of them incorporated into the parks than just during the Halloween season, and then poof, it's gone, and then
Right.
you don't really see or hear of them unless really you go to see Fantasmic, But I would
Right.
love to see more of the Disney villains incorporated into the parks on any given day.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. BJ Vincent here says, aside from the new releases from Disney and Universal in 2024, what are you looking forward to in terms of movies, television, music, etc.? For example, two animes I used to watch, Gundam Seed in 2005 and Code Geass in 26. Both have announcements for movies being released in 2024. I don't really I'm not like super hyped for like film or any of that stuff for 2024. There is, I mean, Deadpool, I guess, is like the only thing that really sticks out, but that's like a Disney property now. So not really super stoked in that world. Music wise though, I don't know. My girls, Blackpink, they just got their contract just got renewed with YG, and there's word on the street that they're gonna have a comeback in 2024 and another tour. So I'm hyped as hell for that in terms of music. But in terms of movies and stuff, man, even the Disney stuff, I'm not like super enthused over it.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Really,
There's
right?
nothing that really is like striking my fancy to say, hey, you know what, I want to go see this in theaters, or I can't wait for this, unfortunately. And I think it's
Yeah.
just right now, we're just at like a stale dip right now, but it'll definitely pick up in time. But yeah, I mean, I am very curious to see Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
Speaking of the movies and music, OG, maybe you could have the best of both worlds. Maybe Blackpink will come out with like a tour movie like Taylor Swift did. I know you'll be
Probably.
the first one. You'll be the
Yeah.
first one in line for that.
I'll be the first one in line for that. And actually, I'm sure the theater chains would like that because they're not doing so hot right now.
Yeah.
They could use another big draw, Alia Aloha,
Alia.
contributor here on the channel. Please discuss the Shanghai Zootopia accident. You two are fair, and I'm intrigued about your perspectives from Imagineering versus operations to if they should become more restrictive like Universal. Okay, so for those of you at home that are not aware, there was an accident on this new ride over in Shanghai. This is from Scott Goosen. It says here, Shanghai Disney Resort says, quote, Zootopia Hot Pursuit, end quote, will resume operations today, December 5th. All guests are required to comply with the resort's operational guidelines as they experience the attraction. So what happened was a little girl lost her headband. And I guess she jumped out of the vehicle and was like running, or walking through the show scenes or something like that. And she ended up getting hit. And she looked pretty hurt, okay, from the video. I'm not going to play the video here out of respect to the family and everything, but she looks really hurt. And that's, for me, out the gate, Alia, that's the number one concern, is that I hope the little girl is okay, because it looked pretty serious, pretty intense, right? I hope she's okay. Praying for her, and hopefully she makes a speedy recovery. In terms of being more restrictive like Universal, absolutely not. I've seen a lot of arguments, and I respectfully disagree with that. Look, these incidences where people jump out of vehicles is far and few between, okay? I mean, we're talking like, okay, for example, the Small World incident where the dude jumped out of the boat. Has that even ever happened before? Not to my recollection. And if it has, it's been decades probably, right? That ride has been around for 60 years, right? So we're going to overreact, right? We're going to create these overly restrictive ride vehicles because of the mere chance that we'll have a incident every 20 years. It's not worth it. Universal, those ride vehicles are extremely uncomfortable. Okay. They're extremely uncomfortable, and they limit who can actually ride those attractions. They've had a lot of issues with maybe people that are maybe heavier or bigger, can't fit in those vehicles. I recently, back in I think it was February, I was at Universal Hollywood with Wizard and Vash Sky. And Vash and I were in the Secret Life of Pets vehicle. Now, I'm not a big dude, Vash isn't really a big dude either. And we barely fit in that thing, dude. It was extremely uncomfortable. Okay. So you're going to ruin the guest experience for millions of people for the one incident every 20 years? It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I completely agree. And I have to make a mental note here. And for anyone who works in Universal, what have you, here's a little tip for you. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go balls to the wall on this, but you have to understand something about men that go on these rides. We tend to have something that women do not. And when you have a bar that is coming all the way down and presses up against you, let me tell you, it's not pretty. It doesn't feel good. Okay? So if you so you have to take that into consideration
Right.
because it hurts.
Well, yeah.
And you go on these rides to enjoy yourself and have
Right.
fun, but how can you when you're so restricted you can't move? And I too went on Secret Life of Pets with Vashkai, and I too, I'm not a big guy, but holy crap, it's like they push you in like you're going into a space shuttle.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And it's an omni mover.
Well, so you're ruining the guest experience for millions of people who ride this thing because of the rare chance that someone is going to jump out. These occurrences where people are jumping out are so far and few between. It's like overreacting about like, okay, let's just say you go to the supermarket one day and you come home and you got the flu because someone at the supermarket had the flu. So you're going to say, you know what? I'm never getting the flu again at the supermarket. So from now on, every time I go to the supermarket, I'm going to wear a military gas mask, right? It's an overreaction to something that is pretty like rare and it's every now and then. It's just not necessary. Okay.
And another thing too, and I don't mean to sound judgmental or what have you, but it's more so just questioning that if this was a young girl and she is with her parents, and the child is then going to get up, kind of push herself up out of the restraint or what have you.
You don't see your kid
Isn't
trying to
there
climb
enough
over?
time that you're going to see your child getting up out of a moving vehicle before she even jumps out?
Well, and this is the thing that Ollie is kind of addressing here from like the operations standpoint. It's an operational thing because for her to get out of the vehicle, the child must have been on the end seat, I would imagine. I couldn't really tell from the video, but if she was on the end seat, that's a big no-no. From what I understand, they usually put kids in the middle, don't they? On these Disney
Normally, yeah. If you are to, I guess, a certain age or a certain height, yeah, they prefer the child in the middle between the two adults.
Yeah, so that would be an operational thing. Now, maybe the cast member that were, didn't pick up on that, or maybe they weren't trained properly. But that's an operations thing. It's not a design flaw on the ride.
Well, now does Shanghai? Well, obviously, I guess it doesn't. If she got hit with a vehicle, I wonder why they don't necessarily have. Where if something were to touch down on the ground, it's like an immediate shutdown.
Well, it did shut down, but it wasn't immediate. It took a couple of minutes. It wasn't immediate. Yeah. So unfortunately, but
because I know at Disneyland, I believe, our good friend Mindy, she was on the Haunted Mansion. I don't know if she's still in the chat, but if she can clarify that I guess it was during Halloween time and she was dressed up and part of her dress was hanging off out of the Doom buggy. And just because it hit one of the sensors, it completely shut down the whole entire ride immediately.
Yeah. No, and that's good. I mean, that's good. Those systems are in place, but you got to look, no ride vehicle is ever going to be 100%, but you have to balance things out too, right? Like you can buckle someone in to the point where they can't move and they're totally safe. But is that a good experience for the guests though, right? You have to balance that. See, that's one of the reasons why I don't like a lot of Universal stuff. I'll be honest. I don't go on Forbidden Journey because I go in that ride and I feel like I'm being crammed into a locker. It's uncomfortable. It's a great ride and it's a shame I can't enjoy it because you're like this, where you got this and then the fucking wall. It's
the thing, OG. It's the thing.
It's a thing and the other thing, and it's just too much. That's the thing with Universal. They gotta balance it a little better. Safety, yes, comes first, but you have to factor in the guest experience too, though.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to take the guests, into consideration of how they can handle. So I say out there to all you parents or guardians, just watch your kids. Don't be under the assumption that your child may or may not get up at any given time out of a ride. A child might become scared in a part of a ride and
Right.
start to panic. You have to keep a good eye and monitor your child while still enjoying the ride at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because luckily, this girl, obviously, she got injured, and
Yeah.
hopefully she does get a speedy recovery. But thank God nothing actually even more serious didn't occur.
Yeah, and that's the first, like, I want to emphasize that, like, the girl's condition, her health is number one, and I hope that she makes a full recovery. It's horrible, absolutely horrible, to hear what happened, and it didn't look good. I'm telling you, it was upsetting to even watch. So I praying for the family, praying for the little girl. I hope she makes a full recovery because it's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
really, really heartbreaking. BJ Vincent here says, I know it has been said, nostalgia is truly one of the great human weaknesses. But do you feel nostalgia has been a major issue for some Disney fans moving forward in terms of new movies, some new attractions that are attached to a Disney movie? Well, I think nostalgia in general is the gift and the curse for Disney, right? Because, like, I think nostalgia fuels a lot of why people go to Disney. It's, my parents took me and their parents took them kind of situation, and that sort of, that nostalgia, that family history for these parks and these experiences and these movies, I think plays to Disney's favor in a lot of ways. But it's also the curse, because now people are emotionally invested like they are not with Universal. Okay, Disney is a completely different animal with that. And now you try to change an attraction like Splash Mountain, or you try to change this, you try to change that, and fans are like, well, wait a minute, because now it's an emotional thing for a lot of people. They're invested. So it's the gift and the curse here. And it works in Disney's favor a lot of times. And a lot of times, though, it works very much against Disney. And I get a little frustrated in the fan community because I think that as Disney fans, as people that are fans of Walt and his vision and what he wanted for these parks, I think as fans, we should try to be a little more open-minded when it comes to change. I think Walt Disney made it very clear he wanted Disneyland to be this, even Epcot, these ever-changing, ever-evolving entities, a sandbox for creatives to sort of play in. And when you get into this mindset of like, no, this is sacred land, this is holy land, you can't touch that, you can't touch this. It goes against what he really wanted for these parks. Now, that doesn't mean you have to love every new thing. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to sound like,
God, I sound like a Bob Iger dick rider.
Not trying to sound like that, okay? But you don't have to love every change. But I think that as fans, we should respect the fact that these parks were built on that mindset of change. You don't want a museum, you don't want a museum. So what are your thoughts on that, George? Nostalgia, the change thing, fans being fearful of it. What are your thoughts, brother?
I think, honestly, Disney's in a position right now, they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. I think a lot of fans don't even really know what they want at this point. It's like they want to keep that strict, nostalgic, original classic moments in a time capsule.
Right.
And it's like, you can't touch it. It's like the Holy Land. But then at the same time, they say, they're not really doing nothing with the parks. What are they doing? We need something new. We need something hip. We need something refreshed. And then when they do it, it's like, oh, no, but you can't touch this. But you could do that, but you can't. So it's like you only have so many ways to go about doing something. And I think, honestly, you can't please everybody, and I feel like that even Walt knew that, and that's why he, as you had mentioned, OG, he strictly was onto the fact he did not want an outdated museum. He wanted his parks to progress with the times, with the motions and everything. So I feel like no matter how much that we can be upset with something that, is important to us or hold a memory, sometimes, change is good. Change is going to happen. You have to even take it into another 100 years. The Walt Disney Company is celebrating its 100th anniversary right now. Take another 100 years. The new stuff that we're going to be seeing now with Tiana's Bayou Adventure, with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Probably gone by then.
Within the next 100 years, that's going to be something completely new.
Right.
So the generation that's growing up with those attractions now, whenever they change, they're going to say, oh my gosh, no, don't get rid of Tiana's, don't get rid of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, but it's inevitable. I'm gonna be a Disney nerd boy here. It's the Great Circle of Life.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. And if you wanted to be a Marvel nerd boy, you could do a Thanos inevitable.
Yes.
But no, you're right though. And one of my very first videos, actually my very first video, was about Mission Breakout.
It was.
That I ever made on the channel. And I remember the fan outrage of that thing when that thing was announced. From the time it was announced,
Oh my gosh,
to the day that thing opened, it was like unbelievable outrage. How could they do this? This is such a stupid idea. This is going to be so stupid and cheap and lame. The thing opens. And now, if you were to change it back, fans would be upset. That's how much people love Mission Breakout.
Exactly. I was there opening day for Mission Breakout. The line for the Fast Pass started at the entrance,
right?
Literally at the turnstiles, and that's where the line started. And they actually took us through the backstage area of Hollywoodland. That line had a stretch. Just to get fast passes, because at that time they were still doing like the paper fast passes, and they only had it limited. So once it ran out for the day, that was it. You know, I mean, I sprinted a little bit to make sure I got to the kiosk. You know, I agree with you. And me personally, I would prefer Mission Breakout over the Tower of Terror being at Disneyland. I wasn't really too big of a fan of Disneyland or DCA's version of the Tower of Terror. I prefer Disney's Hollywood Studios, to be quite honest. And I just think Mission Breakout is, again, I'm a person that I love different variations of ride systems and ride vehicles and attractions. I don't like to see carbon copies at all these Disney parks. If I'm going to travel, go out of my way to go cross country, I want to see something different at Disneyland that I can't get at Walt Disney World.
Right. 100%. Well said. Well said. Matthew Murr, all the way from the UK, says, what do you think is going to happen in 2024 at Disney in terms of exec departures and reshuffles? I think it might show Iger having to accelerate his succession plan. He continues, although as Seymour has proven a number of times, Iger going cold turkey on Disney without a careful succession plan because an early exit might lead to more instability. Yeah, here's the thing. I think in 2024, Matthew, to answer your question, I think we're going to know by the end of 2024, we're going to know who Iger's success, who he chose to be, or who him and the board chose to succeed him. I think we're going to know by the end of 2024. So I think that's going to be big news this year. Absolutely. Bob Iger isn't going to make the same mistake with just like leaving this person high and dry like he did Bob Chapek. Chapek got the shitty end of that stick in a big way. He got screwed over. Okay. Bob Iger threw him the keys right before the pandemic. Here you go, man. It's all yours. You know, Iger learned his lesson, I think, from that. He's not going to do that again. Okay. It's going to be I think it'd be much more methodical, much more careful this time. I hope so. In terms of who could possibly replace him, honestly, Kevin Meyer just negotiated a crazy deal over in India with streaming, with Hotstar and everything, which I think was extremely smart move for them. Huge win, I think, for Kevin Meyer's column. I think that accelerated his chance to be on that short list for CEO. Iger trusted him obviously enough to bring him back, and then he negotiated a deal with this Indian company for the streaming service. So I think Kevin Meyer is by far on that short list. Dana Walden also on that short list. I've been saying this for a real long time. She's got the chops, you know. I think those two. Tom Staggs is on there for sure, which you might get honestly, if you get Meyer, you probably will get Staggs too. Because
I hope that's the case.
Yeah, it's kind of a package deal, I think, with those two. I hate to look. I don't think Josh Giamaro. I don't think he's ready for prime time. I got to be real. I don't think he's ready for prime time.
He's not even ready for an infomercial.
I just think that like he hasn't really personally, respectfully. I haven't seen much from him in the parks, and he's okay, but it's just I don't know, man. It's a lot of talk. I don't think he's high on that list right now.
Unfortunately, I have to say this. If they were to go with DeMauro, it would be another Chapek era all over again. And it's going to put the company right back down to where it was because, no offense to Chapek, It's just there's certain people that have the chops to be able to run a company, and not just any company, but a company like Disney.
Right,
It
right.
is a lot of people when they think and they see and they hear the name Disney, they think of, oh, it's this wonderful magical place of fairy tales. Yes, I get that. That's for us as the fans.
Right.
But the backstage, the inner workings, the inner skeleton, it's still very much corporate. And there's so many entities that are part of the Walt Disney Company. You have to know business. You have to know
Yeah.
studio, you have to know theme parks, you have to be able to run, you have to know sports, even with ESPN.
Right.
There are so many different outlets to this that you have to be able to know the knowledge of how to handle each part of the company.
Well, and that's what makes it so hard to find a Disney CEO, because not only do you have to know all those things that you mentioned, George, but then you also have to be likable too. Because Walt kind of set the standard with the Uncle Walt thing, you know, with the wonderful world of color and all that. Michael Eisner kind of like even further cemented that. And even Bob Iger, a lot of people liked him prior to now. A lot of people liked him for different reasons, right? He kind of had his own kind of thing that people really enjoyed. People want their Disney CEO to be a likable person. So with Chapek, I know he had the business chops to run that company. He wasn't a stupid guy. But he didn't have that like on camera likability, and that really did him in, you know, with the PR blunders and the likability factor. It really, really did him in. Hollywood didn't like him. You know, look, if you put Chapek in as CEO of like some insurance company or CEO of like McDonald's, oh, dude would crush, absolute crush. Disney's a different animal, though. You have to have that likability factor, and Chapek just didn't have it. So, but that's what makes it so hard, though, to find these Disney CEOs, because it's a huge task, and you have to have a little bit of likability out there. It's not easy. It is not easy, but that's why George and I and a lot of people in the chat have been saying Tom Staggs. I don't know. We'll see. We will absolutely see. Mike here says, "What's some interesting Disney stuff you guys may have found out about at yard sales or got as gifts from other people? I found old vinyl records from the Disneyland Records label out and about." That's interesting. You know what, Mike?
Very good question, Mike. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, very good question. I haven't really heard or come across anything, though, to be honest with you. George, have you heard anybody that's came across like something crazy, or like, you know, went to a yard sale and they're selling a people mover vehicle or something weird like that?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Nothing of that sorts, but being that he mentioned like a vinyl records, I was down in an outlet store. I forget the name of it. Back in 2014, when I took my son for his first trip to Walt Disney World, and we went to this little outlet store, and they had a whole bunch of classic Disney vinyl records, and I actually ended up buying a few for myself. And it wasn't like the typical ones. Like I got myself a Mary Poppins one. I got the Mickey Mouse Review. I got myself Splash Mountain. You know, it's like all these old kind of vintage kind of records that you don't normally find. But actually, a very good question. But who would probably know a lot more of that stuff is our good friend Mindy. I'm not sure if she's still in the chat, but she does a lot of yard sales. She goes to a lot of thrift shops and everything, and she finds a lot of amazing stuff. And she would probably know more in depth, because I'm for sure if it's there, she'll get it. And honestly, speaking of it, like as gifts, because she sent me a few things for Christmas, and a lot of it was, but it was like a book of all the maps throughout Disney history, which I didn't get a chance to open it yet. Like actually, because it's sealed in cellophane. But you know that. You know, she ends up finding all these good finds.
Well,
so.
we should have Mindy. It's been a while actually since we had Mindy on. We should bring her on and we could talk about stuff like that, because that'd be very interesting to kind of pick her brain into like
she's
what
a very
found.
she loves like the old era, like the 1930s, 40s, 50s.
Right.
She loves old vintage kind of stuff. So yeah, that's definitely her wheelhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be a fun show, actually. We got the one and only, the one
Candid
and only
Camper,
Candid Camper in the house. Actually, we have a live show coming up soon with these guys. Big announcement. Big announcement. We won't get into any details right now. That's for the live show. But interesting stuff with Candid and our boy Tones. But Candid here says, would you bring the McDonald's fries back to Disneyland? Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely. And they could even bring it back to Walt Disney World, because I tell you what, I used to get the fries over at the Frontierland little wagon. And I tell you what,
it's called Westward Ho.
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
There we go.
And I tell you what, those fries were fresh than you could actually get at a regular McDonald's.
Yeah, no,
they were fresh, they were salted properly. You go to a local McDonald's now, it's like chewing on freaking cardboard.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, yeah, McDonald's, I mean, look, I mean, Disney has a history of like these corporate sort of partnerships, right? We see it with Coca-Cola in the parks. I don't know. I have no issue with McDonald's. I think you bring them back. I think it'd be great. Now, you don't necessarily need its own cart like we had at Disneyland with the Westward Ho wagon.
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
But you can just sell them at the parks. Like if you go up to like any food
Well, you did that awesome, bro. Like you didn't like miss a beat there. You like went right to that, right into your back to your statement.
Yeah, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep going, yeah, great. But yeah, I would support that 1,000%. I used to love being able to buy McDonald's fries, and it seemed to sell. I mean, there was always a robust line for that.
And I wonder if they would ever bring it back, because I actually was having a conversation with Kaylee about that, because I used to collect growing up, the Happy Meal toys where Disney partnered with McDonald's, and it was a short period of time after they had the toys from Disney Pixar Cars back in 2006 that their relationship with McDonald's kind of tarnished, and they kind of broke off the contract. But now they're kind of getting back into that notion by having the toys back in. So it makes me wonder if ever down the road, if they would bring back a fry cart or what have you.
I think it's a great idea. And actually for DCA though, I'd go a different route. For DCA, do InNOut. InNOut would be perfect for DCA, because that's like a California staple, InNOut.
Carl's Jr., man. They put Carl's Jr. in the parks. Oh, man.
You're done.
Did it now.
You're done. KO. George is knocked out. It's done. But I think InNOut would be a great. I mean, nothing says California more InNOut.
Absolutely. I love InNOut. InNOut's superb.
So good. Candy Camper here says, what water is better to cook with, Splash or Pirates? Oh, man. I don't know, man. I'm just glad you're cooking it, though. I don't want you catching anything,
Yeah. Kill the bacteria.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think, George? What water is best to... I mean...
I don't know about cooking with it, but I mean... The pirate water is definitely very distinct than any other kind of Disney.
Is that bromine or whatever it's called in the air?
Yeah.
The smells are great. It's weird. Some fans are really weird. Like I remember those stories like years ago that like people would actually like take little vials and like take the water home with them and stuff.
Oh yeah, I think people still did. I think like at the closing, like the last couple times, like for Splash Mountain, I think people did take like little containers and just kind of swoop it up, and it's like,
isn't that weird though? Like,
it's weird? Water. It's like there's it probably came from the sewer, so they probably scooped up somebody's shit along with it. Particles of the. I don't know.
I think that's really weird. That's weird stuff. I loved it. I love me some Disney. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
you can keep that in the parks. Like you don't like when they turn Tiana's back on, it's going to be the exact same water. Literally, it's
like California tap water with some bromine thrown in there or whatever it is. It's not like, I don't know, it's nothing special. To each their own. Yeah. Candy Camper here says, I think Kiss should be the replacement IP for Rock and Roller Coaster. Imagine the pyros, oh god, and lighting and the playlist. I'm not a big rock fan, but I can definitely see that. The fire effect would be pretty dope. I still think what they should do with Rock and Roller Coaster is have interchanging bands. So maybe for like a year you do Kiss, and then a year you do Taylor Swift, and then a year you do whatever, and you can just switch it up. And I think that keeps it fresh, and you're not locked in. And Disney can work on these partnerships, these licensing deals with these various groups and bands. You can even have like maybe let's say I don't know, you can have like like maybe even like Michael Jackson. You can do like they can do like, how Disneyland, how they have like all these like after dark events where they do like 50s night and 90s night. You can do the same thing with Hollywood studios where you have like an after hours event where they have like 80s night and they play a bunch of 80 songs in that ride. Right. I think that'd be kind of cool. There's a lot of potential for that attraction. And I think that having it locked into Aerosmith is so limiting. I don't know. I think you broaden your horizons, Disney.
And very outdated. Yeah. I mean, it's
you could look if they would have had if they would have had this mindset when Disney Plus premiered in 2019, you could have had High School Musical take over that attraction and had High School Musical songs to promote the new show, things like that. I think that's smart. For whatever reason, though, they just decide. And then it's so funny. This thing is going into rehab soon, right? Or refurb. Rehab.
Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah, wrong. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's going under reverb. And it's like fans are now speculating like, oh, does this mean they're going to retheme it? I don't know, man. It's like we've been down this road before. I'm not getting fooled again because every time this thing goes down and comes back up, it's still Aerosmith, right? Every single time. So,
exactly.
I'm kind of
and you know me, OG. I would, me with a Goofy movie, man. I'd turn that thing into a power line type of ride. Oh man, jamming out to eye and stand out.
Bro.
And it's like, oh man,
dude, that would be epic, man. I mean, I'm telling you, a Goofy movie retheme of that attraction would be so sick. The music in that movie they're all bangers, as Kaylee would say. Every song is a banger. Every single song.
Yeah.
Matthew Murr, who do you think is the better composer, John Williams or Alan Menken? God, Matthew, you got to ask me this, right?
Man,
this
Matthew.
Is tough.
Jeez. I'm
going to have to look. Menken is an absolute, and I don't mean any disrespect to Alan Menken. I worship what Menken did with Disney Animation, okay? This guy, along with Howard Ashman, are the GOATs, okay? They are amazing. But John Williams, dude, like John Williams has like the most legendary... you got Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Jurassic Park. It's just like the list goes on and on and on. He's done so much for so many various franchises. I got to give it to John Williams. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. But what do you think, George?
I mean, it took me a couple seconds to think like, man, that's like, I don't think anybody can really touch John Williams just to the fact of the lengthy history he's had throughout cinema and throughout his
such an icon.
Geez, dude. I don't even know, like 70-year career. I mean, as you had mentioned, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Jaws, E.T., Home Alone. It's like you go back and you watch these movies and sometimes you don't think about it, but it's subconsciously there that when you hear the music playing in the background, you say, oh, that's the music, that's the score to Home Alone, or that's the score to Star Wars, but that's John Williams. That's because of him.
It's all John Williams. And a lot of these franchises, a lot of their success is because of his music. Like, I would argue a lot of the Star Wars success obviously goes to George Lucas and what he created and that world building that Lucas did. Absolutely. But a big part of that equation is the music. How catchy that opening theme is and the Imperial March, that all played into that success. And man, John Williams, man.
And when Darth Vader walks out and you have that music tied to him, that's what makes it more chilling.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like you're setting the stage for this phenomenal villain to walk out, and you got this music playing in the background, and it's like, oh my gosh.
It's incredible. And you know what? There we go. Peter Griffin absolutely agrees.
And really quick, it's much love still to Alan Menken. I mean, he's done phenomenal work with the Disney films, and he with a little bit of Howard Ashman before his unfortunate passing, but also working with Tim Rice, came up with my all-time favorite Disney song that ever exists, is A Whole New World. So I have to give Alan Menken, credit for that as well. But but John Williams, he's on a whole nother pedestal.
Yeah, dude. John Williams, I think we're never going to see another talent like that in our lifetime. There's no way.
And he's still going. He's still kicking.
Good for him. Good for him. Matthew Murr, one question specifically for OG. Have you listened to much of Phil Collins outside of his Disney contributions? Not really, Matthew. I got to be honest. I really haven't. George, I mean, I know it was just for me, but
actually, Matthew, yeah. Actually, this question would be for me. I actually do listen to Phil Collins outside of his Disney contributions that he worked on Tarzan, which phenomenal soundtrack. I feel like Phil Collins crushed it. Brother Bear, of course, but yeah, I listened to his music way back when he was part of Genesis. He was a phenomenal drummer. I mean, I watched him even do the collaborations for Band-Aid for the Christmas to help for I believe it was the for I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it was in the 80s. I believe it was for the AIDS epidemic. But yeah, I was a huge fan of Phil Collins. I love the songs True Colors, Two Hearts, and so it's I'm a huge,
George.
I'm a huge.
I didn't know you were all in on Phil Collins, man. It's funny. Yeah. So if you guys are pulling into the Mickey and Friends parking structure and you see some dude with glasses in his car, and he's bumping Two Hearts,
that'd be me.
It's gonna be George. Absolutely, it's gonna be George. Mike here says the Sony leak stated that the most recent Spider-Man game had a budget around $350 million. That is crazy. I did not know that, dude.
Wow,
dude, that game cost as much as the Indiana Jones movie. That is wild. That is insane. It seems all forms of entertainment are costing more. Do you guys think there's any realistic solution? Yeah, I think the realistic solution is to lower the budgets. I mean, Universal has shown that you can do it. A lot of their stuff is not, well, except for Fast X. Okay. But for the most part, they kind of do a more budget conscious kind of films. I mean, this new movie they did, Migration, it was only $75 million to produce it. And the animation looks pretty good, to be honest with you. It doesn't look really cheap or anything.
Can I ask a controversial question added on to this?
Sure.
And again, I'm not saying that they don't deserve it. I'm not saying I think everyone deserves their... But do you feel like with all these strikes going on, as far as like with the writers and the actors and what have you, that it then levels up to that if you want to have a particular actor for a particular role or even for a voiceover in a video game or what have you, that the price tag becomes more expensive because now... Of course. It is now set up to the fact of, hey, you want me? You're going to pay more.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's why the MCU movies, a large part of those budgets are because they have Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson, and these are big names, you know what I'm saying? Fast X, a big part of the reason why that movie cost so much is because they had all these, Vin Diesel, Brie Larson, like these are expensive. That's expensive talent, and you have a huge. The whole movie are those top tier actors and actresses. It's going to cost you, right? So absolutely, George, that's a huge factor. Absolutely. Kiki and Luca here says I'm in Vegas. Oh, good for you, Kiki and Luca. Have fun, man. Have some drinks on George and I. I know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but tell us a good Vegas story. I'm here to watch a show in the Sphere, which I've heard is a banger. Did I say that right, Kaylee? Okay, I actually do have a funny Vegas story to tell everybody. Okay, this is really, really funny. So when I was 18 years old, I was 18, and my buddy Alan invited me to go to Vegas with him for it was called the Victor Awards, I believe, which is actually like a sports award. Over in Vegas. We went over there and we're in the lobby. Now, mind you, we were still kids. We're only 18, and so we're in the lobby. And my friend Alan was really shy when it comes to women, at that time. Really shy dude, right? And he looks across the way and he sees this really, really pretty Latina with like this wavy blonde hair. And my buddy Alan was like, oh my gosh, like I'm like, wow, I'm smitten, right? So I said, Alan, just go up to her, man. Just talk to her. This is in the lobby at I think it was like the Las Vegas Hilton, if I'm not mistaken. And she just stand there all alone, looking, And George is already like, uh-oh, I know where this is going. And so I told Alan, go talk to her. So now Alan, like I said, very shy. So it took a lot for him to muster up the courage. He walks over to her, right? He's talking to her, and I'm watching him. and they're going for a while talking, and I walk over and I join them, and they're really hitting it off. I'm like, oh my God, my boy Ellen, he came out of his shell. Well, turns out that she was actually she was a sex worker. And he found out about that later. So nothing ever happened, but it was just kind of funny because it was like, I was encouraging him to go talk to her, and he got the balls to do it. He hits it off with this girl. It turns out she was just trying to make some money. So I thought it was really, really funny. George, do you have any interesting Vegas stories to tell us?
So, unfortunately, I don't, because I have not been to Vegas yet. But I guarantee you, Kiki and Luca, that eventually when I do, knowing me, always some crazy shit always happens. My whole life is a Griswold situation waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you, whenever I go to Vegas, something crazy or wacky is gonna happen.
Yep, absolutely. Kiki and Luca, I recently binge watched 1888, 1923, and season 2 of The Bear, all of which are amazing. Do you guys have any recommendations for binge-worthy shows this holiday? You know what? I do. On Netflix, there's a show called Queen Charlotte. Absolutely amazing. I loved that show. Just incredible. Just check it out. I think it's a Bridgerton spinoff. Okay. But don't let that turn you off. Even if you're not into like this kind of like romantic kind of like, stuff, this is a really, really good show. Kiki and Luca, I think you'll enjoy it. So check it out. Let me know if you check it. If you watch it, let me know what you think. George, any binge-worthy shows for Kiki and Luca this holiday season?
Oh man, unfortunately, I don't really have anything. I haven't really been watching anything. I've been working like a dog. So I'll just have to go off of, anything that OG suggests is usually always good. So if he recommends it, take a watch. I'll probably take a watch of it myself once I get some downtime.
Yeah. And another one, it's not really holiday, and I don't know if you've seen, it's kind of older. Breaking Bad is one of my all-time favorite shows, and I know most people have already seen that.
Oh yeah, Breaking Bad, yeah.
But like, I binge watched that for the first time a few years ago. I couldn't put it down. That's an amazing show. So if you haven't, check that out. You definitely should. Kiki and Luca here says, lastly, thanks for following me on X. I'm now followed by 3 people and 6 Indian bots. Fantastic.
Oh
Fantastic. Okay, so CSRS here says, I'm skeptical that DLR will get exact clones from the Asia parks for Disneyland Forward. I say that considering the rate Disney builds, we could be looking at the 2030s for completion dates. What do you think about that, George, in terms of like getting exact clones from the Asian parks for Disneyland Forward, the build time, all that good stuff? Where do you stand?
Well, just speaking, if you're doing replicas from the international parks, now I do know, I'm not 100% sure how it goes with Shanghai and Hong Kong or even Paris, but I do know with Tokyo, there's a clause in the contract that I believe with any attraction that is set to open in any of the Tokyo Disney parks, it has to be within a 10-year from the date that it opens in the Tokyo parks. 10 years later is when I believe either
you can clone it.
They can clone it. And so it doesn't mean necessarily it has to be open, but they can start the process. So if they are doing anything with Tokyo, that may take a little bit more time. I don't know if there's anything in the clause of the contract with the other parks. I think if you're doing something massive, I mean, we're already going to be going into 2024. So once the expo comes, hopefully tomorrow has something to offer us than this what if, shoulda, coulda, woulda sort of thing. So we're already going to be 6 years out before it hits 2030. So that's a very big possibility because, I mean, it takes about 5 to 6 years for something to be completed. And that was always Disney's thing. This is nothing new. Yeah. It took that same amount of time for Cars Land. It took the same amount of time for Pandora. It took the same amount of time for Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge. So that's nothing new.
And George is right. They announced Cars Land. The DCA renovation reimagining was announced in 2007. 2007. We didn't see Cars Land until June of 2012. So I know on the internet, and it's like we want the instant, but it's always been like this. And actually, to be honest with you, I mean, even some of the more recent projects, though, like for Disneyland Resort, I feel like they were faster than some of the stuff in Florida, right? Like I feel like we got our Runaway Railway up pretty quick, considering they had to bulldoze that backstage area, and then they built it during the pandemic. I mean, it didn't take that long, from what I remember. And even Avengers Campus, I mean, it was ready to go, I believe, during the pandy, but the pandy, you couldn't go to the park. So the opening was delayed, I think, like a year. But I mean, it was pretty much ready to go. I mean, so I think that Disneyland, I don't think they're as bad. Florida, it's a little different. They do drag a little bit more, but yeah, we'll see. But you're right, though. I mean, you're looking at probably close to 2030 for some of this stuff. In terms of exact clones, I don't know. I mean, if you get Disneyland Forward, you're going to have a lot more room, and you could probably, some of the stuff, I think the Zootopia thing, from what I heard, is only like 5 or 6 acres. So if you get Disneyland Forward approved, you can definitely fit that without any problems. We might get exact clones. Now, I don't want exact clones. Like I said, for Zootopia, I would want more of a Los Angeles angle to that, or something like that, to kind of tie it in to like a DCA. But yeah, I wouldn't completely write off the idea that we're going to get exact clones. I just wouldn't. We absolutely might. T.S. Wade, I'm so upset that Disney is going to reboot Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and I'm sad that Paul Reddish's Mickey Mouse shorts have ended. Part 2. Will Disney ever make another hand-drawn or 2D animated short series starring Mickey Mouse and friends? Yeah, they will. They will, Wade. Yeah. We saw a lot of love for Once Upon a Studio. That got a lot of praise. It's nominated for Best Animated Short. The fandom, by and large, loved that. It was the one thing Disney did recently that everyone was kind of behind and supportive of, which is rare nowadays with Disney, right? I think they saw that outreach, that outpouring of love for that, and I think we will see more hand-drawn stuff. Maybe we'll see a hand-drawn, fully hand-drawn, full-length animated movie. Wish, while not fully hand-drawn, was sort of a hybrid. We're baby steps, right? We're halfway there, right? Maybe they'll do it. They've been talking and teasing about that for a long time. Eric Goldberg, a veteran Disney animator, has hinted that on social media that they're working on more hand-drawn stuff. So I think it's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. And not only possible, I think it's likely. Now, are we ever going to go back to the days where everything is hand-drawn? No, and we shouldn't. Disney should utilize all different technologies, depending on the story that they want to tell, depending on what's appropriate. But I think that we're going to see more of a mix with our CGI and our hand-drawn. What say you, George?
Yeah, I do think Disney should go back to 2D, not just because of the need that it needs to, but just kind of change it up a bit. Give us something different, give us something new, something we haven't seen for a while. I feel like with the Mickey and the gang, I feel like that's pretty much inevitable. They're timeless characters that they could just make something new. And I honestly, I grew up in a time era, and here I go again. As I said, don't get me started with this shit. I still don't even know why that Disney's House of Mouse isn't on Disney Plus yet. Like, that is still very baffling to me, because I grew up with the House of Mouse, and I love how they incorporated a up-to-date version of Mickey Mouse and the gang, and involving all the Disney characters throughout the many decades. And again, they can kind of tie that into Once Upon a Studio, because that's where all the characters were together at that point too. Right. But they used it sort of like as a nightclub type of entertainment complex where they played old Disney cartoons. I mean, like, that was just genius during that time. Yeah. And I still don't know why they do not have that on Disney Plus.
It's bizarre. That's a weird one, right? Like, why not?
Yeah.
They have everything else. Like, I think all the Disney afternoon shows are on there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like the shows that were from movies that became shows. Hercules, The Little Mermaid. I don't know if Bonkers is on there. That's bonkers. It's bonkers that Bonkers is on there, but not House of Mouse. But don't get me wrong, I do love the show Bonkers. A lot of people don't even know what Bonkers is, but I enjoy Bonkers.
These young kids today, they have no idea, George. Yeah, they got no idea, Kaylee right here with another banger question. Favorite Disney fish. Okay, so favorite Disney fish. It's for me. It's kind of a tie, Kaylee. It's gonna be Nemo and Flounder. I love both of those dudes. They're awesome. Those are the tie for first place. What about you, George? Favorite Disney fish? Although technically Nemo isn't really a Disney fish; he's a Pixar fish, but whatever.
Yeah, that's good. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to go through all the movies that would involve
You have
fish.
Chloe, the little goldfish from Pinocchio.
That's who I was leaning more towards. I think it was because I love the relationship between Figaro and Chloe.
Right. So
Not Chloe, Cleo. Sorry, Cleo.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Cleo. Figaro and Cleo. I love the relationship between the two of them because they're kind of like this old, like Charlie Chaplin type of black and white movie where it's like neither one of them talk, but you know
Right.
exactly what they're thinking, you know exactly what they're feeling, and they kind of just go off of this pantomime with one another where it's like Cleo is like Figaro's like ready to eat dinner,
Right.
and like Cleo's like saying no, and then Figaro just I think they're the perfect duo. So yeah, I'd have to say my favorite Disney fish is Cleo.
Yeah,
from
and
Pinocchio.
that nonverbal sort of reminds me of like Wally, right? How like there's
Yes.
no words, but like you know very much what's going on. You know, it's amazing. And speaking of Mindy, she is in the chat. Sweet Miss Magical Mindy. Hey everyone. Well, hey Mindy, it's good. Thanks you for joining us. We got to get Mindy on and talk about the vintage stuff.
Yeah,
That'd be a
like
very
as I
fun
said,
show.
that's her wheelhouse. Should love it.
Yeah, 100%. Alessio Pasquale. Hi, OG55. Hope you're enjoying the last 5 or 6 days of 2023 before 2024. I'm here for the live show in the hopes you'll answer my question. I DM'd you as promised you would before the year's end. Yes, Alessio. We are going to do, and I told you we're going to do a whole show on your question because it's a meaty one. It's beefy, and there's a lot there to dive into. And I promised you it'll be before the new year, and it absolutely will be. So look out for that very, very soon, brother. Very, very soon. Matthew Murr, do you prefer the air horn for balls to the wall or the Star Wars style alarm? Well, George, okay, I'm gonna play both, and then you guys can all decide. So this is what he's talking about. So when George goes balls to the wall, we can do the Star Wars one. Okay. Or now it's not gonna stop. Okay, there we go. Or we can do the siren. What say you, George? What do you prefer? You're
Honestly,
the balls to the wall guy. So
I am the balls to the wall guy. I don't know. I kind of took to the siren.
Yeah, you like the
honestly.
siren?
Yeah.
I'm kind of digging the siren too.
Yeah.
The Death Star alarm is really dope. It works for Star Wars. It feels a little like dystopian though. A little
like the siren is like, okay, let's do this. Like we're ready to rumble sort of thing.
Yeah,
Like that's that balls to the wall.
Yeah, this is more hype machine. You know, the Death Star is like, oh man, we're all gonna die. You know,
Yeah.
not the same energy. Not the same energy.
Exactly.
Andrew Kellogg here says, how was your Christmas day? Well, Andrew, thank you for joining us. My Christmas was really good. Really low key Christmas. Basically, just spent it with my family, which is great. We just kind of chilled at the house basically, and had a nice dinner. You know, as Italians, we had cannolis, George. We had cannolis.
You can't go any more Italian than cannolis.
Come on, we had cannolis and we had cannoli cake, dude. You can't. It's crazy Italian, but yeah, that's what we had for Christmas. It was a great day, and yeah, pretty nice. What about you, George? How was your Christmas?
Well, Andrew, thanks you for the question. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, my Christmas was low key. Got to spend it at home with my mom and her boyfriend, and I got to make I'm Italian. I got to make a lasagna. For all of you who follow me on X, I posted a few photos of the before and after of the lasagna, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm going to do so anyway. It was so good. I ended up going into a food coma and taking a 3-hour nap after that because I needed some recovery time.
Boom. There you go. Good for you, George. Good for you. Andrew Kellogg here, part 2 of 2 says, have you guys seen Disney Wish movie? I have not. I have not seen it. Admittedly, Andrew, I'm not a huge theater person. It takes a lot for me to go into the theater. Not a huge fan. I love watching stuff at home. I just do. But I haven't seen it yet, but this guy has. And George, I mean, everyone doesn't watch every video, so I know you've kind of talked about it, but go ahead and let Andrew know, like, what are your overall thoughts on the movie? You know, all that good
Again,
stuff.
Andrew, thanks again for your second question. I actually really enjoyed it, despite of what a lot of people are saying about it online. I feel like it was a breath of fresh air. It kind of had that quintessential Disney kind of fairy tale musical. There was some aspects of the movie that I would have changed a little bit more so when it came time for the villain and his demise. I touched upon that in several videos and live shows. As I said, it sounds so dark of me and very morbid, but I love a really good, gruesome, villainous death. I'm sorry, I do. Clayton from Tarzan, Scar from The Lion King.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
Ursula, I mean, she gets impaled by the ship. I mean, I don't know. It's just something. Gaston falling to his death off the castle. There's just something about a good Disney death, and for some reason, Disney, like, I guess, is like not tapping into that notion. They're trying a different route. Think it'd be too disturbing or scary for kids. But as Walt Disney always was a big proponent of, is don't talk down to kids. You know, they can absorb and take in a lot more and have much stronger stomachs than a lot of adults do.
And that doesn't mean you make a kid movie or an animated movie that's vulgar. Nothing like that.
Right.
But you can make a movie. A lot of problem with the studios today, and unfortunately, Illumination is one of those studios where they feel like you have to like dumb it down. You got to have a fart joke every 10 minutes, and that's what we're talking about, right? Like, you can have a movie like The Lion King, which deals with a lot of deep, like, kind of dark subject matter, right?
Yeah.
And kids are fine with that movie. They have been for decades, you know? That's what we're saying, you know? Bambi is another one, you know? Kids can handle more than you think they can. And, you know, I think that a lot of these studios, they kind of like, they water this stuff down to a point where it's like, come on. And it just, I don't know.
And my last statement on Wish would be, I feel like Disney kind of hyped it up a little bit too much for the notion of saying, you know, this is 100 years in the making.
Right.
So it's like when you kind of put it to that kind of caliber, it's like you're then setting yourself up for failure. It's just like, let the movie speak for itself.
It's like you're putting 100 years of films, like setting that 100 years worth of films and putting all of that on Wish's shoulders, basically, when you do that.
Exactly.
And the movie, from what I hear, a lot of people liked it. A lot of people didn't. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I think that it would have been, I agree with you, George. I think it would have been more well received had they not gone overboard with the 100 years in the making, where it felt like the ultimate Disney movie. That's, you know, it just, way too much hype, and it didn't serve the movie at all. I think it actually hurt the movie, to be quite honest. Kiki and Luca, what is your ideal date night at Disneyland? What rides do you go on? Which restaurants do you do? When I go to the parks, Kiki and Luca, like I've said a few times, like, I'm a real chill kind of guy, right? I'm not one of those guys where it's like I'm hitting every single ride. I'm getting, you know, lightning lane every 5 seconds. I'm not doing that, you know? So if I'm going on a date night with some, you know, with my girlfriend, you know, or whatever, I'm kind of chill. Like, I am down, like, Christmas time. I think walking around Main Street, shopping, having like snacks and hot cocoa, stuff like that, watching the fireworks and snow. That's kind of my ideal sort of date night thing. You know, I'm not really into just like, we're going to hit every ride in, you know, 3 hours. That's not really my style. So yeah, a little more chill, absorb the atmosphere, enjoy the energy. You know, that's kind of where OG's at. What about you, George?
Okay, let me break it down for you, baby. Here we go. So I find myself at times a romantic, you know, then I could be a very comedic sort of guy. I'm in a Rubik's Cube with pants. Like, there's so many sides to me. But when it comes for a date night, particularly at Disneyland,
just keep them on, George. That's all I'm asking. Just keep them on.
For me, yeah, if it's a date night at Disneyland or a Disney park for that matter, I feel like I'm blessed with the notion that I get to go as many times as I do. I have annual passes for both uh, resorts, Walt Disney World and Disneyland. I've been on 9 Disney cruises and counting. Um, I I find myself that to take a girl on a date at Disneyland, I pretty much kind of like to do it all, but in a very, as you said, OG, a chilled, relaxed pace type of thing. Maybe do a ride here or there, and then
Right.
enjoy the ambiance, the sights, the sounds, the smells. Sit down, talk, people watch. Maybe have a like a corn dog or some popcorn. Maybe go see a show,
Right.
uh, and then maybe meet some characters along the way. Just kind of do it all, kind of mix it up a bit, and then of course, what's perfect for a date night is to cap it off with that quintessential Disney park kiss goodnight and see the fireworks at the end of the night. I think that's like I don't know. I think that's like the ultimate date night at a Disney park.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. 100%, George. Mike here is asking you a question, George. George, if I were to take a shot every time they said darkness in Kingdom Hearts, how long would my life last?
Oh boy, Mike, I tell you, for how many times that they use that word in that game series, I could imagine. I would. That's actually a very good question. I would love to do a word count of how many times that they use the term darkness in the Kingdom Hearts series, because they use it a lot in every single game from the original Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, Birth by Sleep. Um, yeah, it's a Dream Drop Distance. Like I can imagine how many times that they use the word darkness and actually heart too. I think darkness actually would have a little bit more of an edge over the word heart, but I think both words are used a lot.
Quite a bit. Quite a bit. And Teo Boy here says, hey, all, hope you're doing well. First question of the night. Honestly, do we see Pelts getting those board seats next year? As we stand now, probably, dude. I mean,
I think eventually it's going to happen sooner or later, because it's like an up and down trajectory, like a roller coaster. And I just think at some point that it's going to take to the fact of Iger really just kind of where they're going to look at it and say, you know what, I've given you so many chances, Iger, to get this company back, up on its feet. I'm not seeing the improvement. I'm stepping in. But go ahead, brother. Sorry. I didn't
Yeah,
mean to
no,
interrupt.
I agree. I think that okay, look, I think when the first time that Pelts came in, it was like it was just a couple months into Bob Iger coming back. I think it was too soon. You didn't really give Iger enough time to really kind of do his thing, and it felt like kind of premature, to be honest with you. I think Pelts made a mistake going in that first time. I think it was like around February, right? This time around, it's a little more justified because now it's been a year. So now you can point to, okay, Iger, you've been there a year. What have you done, right? And there's a case to be made. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Pelts or Rizzullo. I wasn't a fan of Rizzullo when he was the Parks guy, what was it, 15 years ago or whatever. Look, I'm just not, but we got to, be honest. And yeah, they have a decent chance. I mean, unless something drastic changes between now and I think they vote on it in March, they probably will get those seats. They probably will.
I think so.
Yeah, we'll see. We will absolutely see, though. We're definitely going to cover it here on OG55, though. That's for dang sure. Leo CH, you guys ever been to Disney parks alone? If so, how do you feel when you go there alone compared to with family and friends? George, going to the Disney parks alone, are you cool with it? Have you done it, dude?
Yeah, I've done it many times. I've done many solo trips to both Walt Disney World and Disneyland, actually, to be honest with you. I actually was having this conversation with Kaylee not too long ago. It's very different because I love the different aspects of it, where when you do a solo trip, you can kind of go at your pace, where you don't necessarily feel the notion that you have to either play host or follow someone else's routine or schedule. You can kind of go by your own, and you don't have to feel like you feel bad that someone else has to tag along to what you want to do. You just basically beat to your own drum and do your own schedule, what have you. And as I
Right.
said, I've done it at Disneyland. I've done it at Walt Disney World. I think I've done it more for Walt Disney World because as I started meeting people out in California, such as my bro right here, there's so many times at Disneyland. It's like, and then there's the aspect of going with somebody. Where again with OG, I love going to the parks with him, hanging out at Grand Californian, having us our Italian sandwiches with some beers, just chilling.
You know what
And
I'm
then we
saying?
just walk around the parks. And I've done the Oogie Boogie Bash with him. Again, shout out to Jackie, awesome tour guide and cast member. And yes, and then of course hanging out even with Mindy at both Walt Disney
Right.
World and Disneyland.
Yeah.
Theme park casual, Bob, Berry Place 28, hanging out with them as they do
Right.
their live stream. So it's all in really what you make of it. But I love every aspect of how you can enjoy a Disney
Yeah.
park, and I say there's not one right answer over another.
Well,
It's just
and that's
all
the
what you
beautiful.
wanna-
Exactly. And that's the beautiful thing about Disney parks is it really is a tailored experience. Every time you go is kind of different based on who you're going with or not going with, right? So I've had an annual pass for Disneyland since 2003. So it's been like 20 years and I've been averaging once a month that whole time. You know what I'm saying? So I've gone alone quite a bit, right? I've gone alone quite a bit and it's fun in the sense where you can go and you, like Georgia said, you go at your own pace and you have like this sort of like, just kind of like this moment where like, you soak it in more, I think, because it's just you
Yes.
in the parks
Mhm.
and you just sit there and just take it all in. I enjoy it. Now, that doesn't mean I don't enjoy going with my boy George or going with my family, or obviously I enjoy that as well. But each thing is different, which I said at the beginning, where it's like whoever you go with or don't go with, it's a different experience. So when I go alone, that's gonna be a very different experience than if I go with George or if I go with, my sister or something like that. Everything's different. And that's what makes it so great, right? Everything is, it changes. So yeah, I love going alone. I think it's fun. I live close enough. I feel blessed that I live close enough to do that. So yeah, it's a cool experience. Now I don't prefer it like all the time. Like I think that like every now and then is nice. I mean, I obviously prefer to go with my family, friends, loved ones, but every now and then you sprinkle in that alone visit, man. It's not so bad. It's pretty cool, actually. Goo Gamp 32. Can Disney bring Marvel characters that didn't exist prior to the creation of the Universal Marvel contract, such as Miss Marvel, Captain Carter, or Spider-Gwen to Disney World? They can bring any character that isn't showcased in that Universal land. So if those characters are not in some sort of like wall hang or painted on a wall or whatever, Disney can use them. So that's why they can use the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're not featured anywhere in that land. Spider-Gwen, she's probably not featured in that land, I would imagine. I'm just guessing, but I'm probably not.
Now, I am very curious with Miss Marvel because with the term Marvel, can they get away with the name Marvel as opposed to being the Marvel brand?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I don't know.
That is interesting. That might be a legal issue for sure. So yeah, as long as it's not featured anywhere in that land, they can use it. Is pretty much from what I understand, Yeah. We got Mr. Bad Thought Studio. Tones is in the house. Has anyone been a recipient of the quote "no sad child" rule end quote at the parks? I'm not familiar with that. What is that? Do you know what that means, George?
No sad child rule. No, I don't actually recall.
I'm sorry,
that
Tones.
term.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Maybe he means like
if a child goes to the park, it's like
they shouldn't be sad.
They shouldn't be sad or what have you. It's like, well, if that is the case, it's like I really don't give a shit. As long as I'm having a good time, I'm getting my money's worth.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not really sure
if that is what I don't know. I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, me neither. Sorry, Tones. I'm sorry, brother. Laura Jonathan here says, could Broadway show of Sound of Music in South Pacific be at the Art of Disney Animation Courtyard because of the new Mermaid show? I mean, that would be kind of. What do you think about that, George? I mean, would you want a song of this? Would you want Sound of Music or South Pacific in the animation courtyard?
I don't think that would really mesh well. I mean, I guess at this point the animation courtyard is so meshed up as it is. I guess that's something that I'm not really interested in. As I said, it's nice that they're kind of revitalizing the Little Mermaid in a sense, but me personally, I would have just wiped out that whole entire area and start off fresh and new with something else.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. We got the one and only Mr. Barry Plays 28. We're gonna give him a balls to the wall. There we go. Barry Plays 28. Thank you so much for the super chat, $9.99. Thank you so much, Bob. Hope you both had a Merry Christmas and a happy early New Year. Best wishes for an amazing 24. You as well. That is awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
You so much.
And I definitely will, because as I said, that $10 is going to go feed my Carl's Jr. habit, Bob. So thank you.
Now, what do you get at Carl's? What's your go-to? You said before, but
I said it before. I got to mention again. My go-to at Carl's every time is a number 2. I got to get that Superstar deluxe meal.
There we go. Number 2. Does it make you go number 2, George? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Luckily, honestly, this is going way down the beaten path, but luckily, Carl's does not do that to me. You give me a burger at Wendy's, it's over, bro. It's done.
Wow, dude. Wow. Note to self: never go to Wendy's with George. Oh man, here we go. Teo here says, have you guys seen the Play in the Park collection in the park? That Mickey Astro Orbiter sweatshirt is calling my name. You know what, Teo? I was there this past weekend. I think I did see it. It was like a hoodie, if I'm not mistaken, and it had like Mickey in the Astro Orbiter vehicle, and it was really colorful. Is that the one you're talking about? Because if that's the one you're talking about,
I think that's the one. Yeah, it's the newer type merch. I haven't personally seen it in person yet, and I haven't been to the park since they've been released. That they released it, but I'll see it. Excuse me, fairly soon. But yeah, of the pictures that I've seen, I love merch where they incorporate the characters intermeshed with the park attractions or what have you. I love that. I used to be a fan. Anyone in the chat, tell me if you know what I'm talking about. I used to love collecting. It was those theme park die-cast vehicles they used to have in the parks. They were into like a blue packaging, and they would have certain Disney characters that were in the vehicle of the rides and attractions, but they were like metal die cast. They had Mickey actually in the Astro Orbiter rocket. They had Brer Rabbit and Brer Bear inside the log of Splash Mountain. They had they had like a various different ones. They had Mickey actually in the Tram Tour car that was part of the backlot tour of MGM at the time. It's a Small World, where they had like one of the dolls with Mickey, and I used to collect those. I used to love those Disney theme park die-cast vehicles.
Yeah, those are cool. Yeah, that collection is pretty cool though. I only saw the Astro Orbiter one with Mickey, and I thought it was pretty awesome actually. It seemed like really good quality too. It was kind of funny he mentioned that, because I was actually kind of considering getting that one. That's funny. Funny. We got the one and only Maybe in the house. Maybe is in the house. What is your favorite lightsaber color? Okay, she's funny because we had a holiday special recently, right? Christmas special, and we were talking about Jay Shear on the Story Geeks, right? I was saying how like he asks really deep questions about movies, shows, whatever. And I had the example of he's not going to ask you like what your favorite lightsaber color is. Yeah. So maybe I appreciate it. That's really good. I like that a lot. Now I'll give you my answer though. My favorite lightsaber, the OG55 lightsaber, if I were to customize it, it would be black, pink, and orange. It'd be a 3-color, black, pink, and orange. That's the OG lightsaber. What about you, George? What are you going with, Betty?
Wow. I don't know why I didn't see that.
Yeah, man. I mean, come on, dude.
Geez. Okay. Okay. You know me, I'm pretty much like a badass myself. I always tend to go, even though you always root for the hero, you always root for the good guy. But I was always one, anytime that I watched a movie or a TV show, I always lean more towards the villain, not to win, but I always loved the backstory to a villain.
Right.
And I think that's why it always, even when I used to watch, I'm really going to date myself here. I used to watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I always leaned more towards the villains and the bad guys that were part of that show. So to kind of cap it all off, I have to go with the classic Sith Red.
There you go. You can't go wrong with that. Here you go. And we got Lord Jonathan. Did you see Disney on Ice? And could Disney bring Disney on Ice into the parks at Hollywood Studios? I haven't seen Disney on Ice since I was like 7 or 8 years old. So I've seen it, but I don't really remember any of it. I don't see them bringing that into the parks. That's been a thing for, like, Disney on Ice has been a thing for a long time. And if they haven't done it now, I don't think they're going to do it.
Okay, so let me break it down for you, Lord Jonathan, because I actually do know a little thing or two of Disney on Ice. I have been going to Disney on Ice, not recently, I think, but since I was like 2 years old, and it was all the way up till, actually, I think it was 2014 when I took my son to the final one that I went to.
See, this is weird. I'm learning a lot about you tonight, George. Like the Phil Collins thing, the Disney on Ice. There's a lot of things in here.
As I said, I'm in a Rubik's Cube with pants. I'm telling you, there's so many sides to me. But actually, Disney on Ice was actually created in partnership with Disney by Feld Entertainment. And Kenneth Feld was actually the heart, mind, and soul of what it brought to Disney on Ice, how they kind of incorporated it to become sort of just like this kind of mini showcase of the characters on the ice, sort of like how they did with the cruise line industry, where they used to have the Disney characters on various cruise ships until they did Disney Cruise Line. That's sort of kind of how it started out with Disney on Ice. And man, I got to see pretty much of them all. I got to see Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Three Jungle Adventures, 100 Years of Magic, the Disneyland Adventure. I mean, Pocahontas, you name it, Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., Toy Story 2. I swear to you, like, Disney on Ice was a huge part of my childhood growing up, because that was an activity that my mom and I did before me actually experiencing the parks. So that encompassed a lot of me growing up. So I'm very glad, Lord Jonathan, that you brought that up, and great question, because as I said, I still actually have every single Disney on Ice program that I have saved since the first time that I went to the last time that I went.
That's wild, man. You learn something new every day, you know, every day. As much as I know this guy, I had no idea that you were such a fan of Disney on Ice. That is wild. Absolutely wild. We got Disney Resorts Podcast here. Thank you for joining us, Disney Resorts Podcast. Does Genie Plus hit $50 per person by the end of 2024? It hit an all-new high this week at $39 per person. Here's the thing, Disney Resorts Podcast. Will it hit $50 by the end of 2024? Probably. But you know what? I wish they would even double that. I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I think the less people you have in that Genie Plus system, the better the experience is for the people that do buy into it. There's right now, it's like just affordable enough that there's too many people in that system. So the lines, even for the Genie Plus stuff, is too long. They should do what Universal does and do like $150 or something like that. That prices people out a little bit. But when you do buy that Genie Plus, you're getting on that ride faster. And that's what I would do. Will they do that? Probably not. But I think it's a better way to handle it. What do you think, George?
Yeah, we've been talking about this for quite some time. I feel like having it at $30 was fairly cheap. If you're for the amount of people that go through those parks, through those turnstiles, $30 for all day. No wonder that the lines are backed up more than the regular standby line. And yeah, I think even $50 is still a fair deal, where it needs to double, and I would even say, do I dare say triple in price, because I feel like it needs to cater to a smaller amount of group of people, so that the Genie Plus line or the Lightning Lane line can match what the standby line is, so that way it evens out, so both lines aren't going to be backed up and you're standing there for hours.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Maybe here with another question. Do you think Disney will do anything with Percy Jackson if it does well? Okay, so maybe that's a great question, actually. I think they might. I think that Disney might do something in the parks. We are getting early numbers for the first 2 episodes of the new Percy Jackson show, which are really decent numbers for that show, considering it's only 2 episodes in. And I'm hearing a lot of great word of mouth for this show. If it continues this kind of momentum, I think we definitely could see something. Now, we talked a lot today about Hollywood studios. I could see a franchise like this working beautifully in a Hollywood studios, or even maybe a DCA in Hollywoodland or something like that. I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. But yeah, so far, people are loving the show, number one. And number two, it's doing pretty good. So I think we're going to see a lot more Percy Jackson, definitely on Disney Plus, and maybe possibly in the parks. What do you think, George?
So you said maybe to maybe.
I said maybe to
maybe to maybe. Yes.
Maybe
Okay.
to maybe. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think if it does fairly well, I actually enjoyed the films. I know that they didn't really have no tie into, Disney at the time, but I feel like because I loved the novels. I used to read them before watching the movies, and I am going to watch the series. But yeah, I think Hollywood Studios would be a great fit if they were to incorporate anything into that notion. However, you can even maybe kind of tie that into somewhat of Animal Kingdom, because you're then tying into kind of a mythological type of creatures. And I know that they were kind of doing something of that nature with Beastly Kingdom, with the centaurs and the unicorns and the dragons. So if they wanted to, I mean, it could still, hell, if they're going to try to put Encanto in Animal Kingdom, I'm for sure Percy Jackson wouldn't be a bad fit either.
And Percy Jackson's a great franchise. It's a really great franchise. So I hope that it continues to do well on the streamer, and hopefully we see some of it in the parks. I think it's a great I think it's a great way to handle it. Thank you so much, maybe, for that question. And Nick here says, wait, don't we have monopoly laws? Yeah, well, Rick, kinda, I mean, if we did, or we had monopoly laws with any sort of teeth, the Fox thing wouldn't have happened, So that's why, people say, well, there's no way Comcast will snatch up WB. I would never say never, as Justin Bieber says, never say never, right? Hey, can you sing that for us, George? You're a singer. Can you do that one for me? Can you sing "Never Say Never" for me, or no?
I don't think I could pull that one off, but okay. I could do that. I could do that, baby, 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 ooh, not baby, 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 ooh.
There you go. I don't know what that has to do with monopoly laws, but he sounded pretty good doing it, though. He really did. All right, here we go. Mike Varley, greetings from Canada. Oh, greetings. Thank you for watching, Mike, and happy Boxing Day. Happy Boxing Day to you as well, sir. Do you think Chapek will ever write a tell-all book about what really happened? Okay, here's the thing with Chapes. If he writes that book, I would be the first in line. I want a fucking signature on that shit. Dude, can you imagine, the amount of tea that this man has? This could be the cover to the book. I'm telling you right now. This could be the cover to the book. Yeah, that would be. Oh man, I can imagine. Can imagine. Dude, that would beat Iger's book. Oh, it would, dude. Because there'd be so much juicy stuff in there, even sticky. Dare I say, right, George? Yes, absolutely. But OG, I mean, with all those people buying those books, what that would bring in for Chapek, just a little bit more of that money. Of that moolah. Hold on one sec. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and thank you so much, Mike, for that question. Fantastic question. Leo CH, what is your favorite non-Disney? Oh, very good question. Very good. Very good. I gotta say, I have a lot, but lately I've been it's kind of funny. I've been watching Pollyanna on Disney Plus. I love Pollyanna. Haley Mills, those old school Disney movies are fantastic. So right now I'm kind of going through like a Pollyanna phase. Oh, okay. So
Well, hey, do you know what? I do love Pollyanna. I mean, Haley Mills, she was phenomenal, and she won a special juvenile Oscar for that role. Um, as well. Now, just out of curiosity, I just want to make sure I understand it. When it said non-Disney animated movie, is it an animated movie that's not Disney?
Oh, I think that's what
I think that's what he's referring to. That's how I got it. I
I
think
thought he
that's
meant
how.
non-animated. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, favorite
So
non-Disney animated
yeah.
movie? Go ahead, George, and then I'll take it over after you.
Okay, I know mine. I don't know. I might actually steal yours, OG, because I absolutely loved this movie growing up, and it was a true Don Bluth kind of type of movie. I love An American Tail.
Yeah, it's still mine.
I love Fievel, and then it's the sequel, Fievel Goes West. Like it was, I don't know, just something about that little mouse. No offense to Mickey, but I just loved, and the soundtrack. I mean, Somewhere Out There. I mean, come on. Like,
no, that movie is brilliant. I love American Tail. That's my favorite non-Disney animated movie as well. And it's an amazing movie. It's super emotional. Oh my God. Yeah. Super emotional. That song, Somewhere Out There, is just, as Kaylee would say, it's an absolute banger. Kaylee, if you're in the chat still, have you heard of Somewhere Out There on the American Tail movie? And if you have, can you verify if it is in fact a banger? Because I believe it is.
Because I'm also, speaking of music, I am, and it's so sad that he's gone. I am a huge fan of James Ingram. I love his baritone when he sings. Like he has like that old soul type of singing. So him singing with Linda Ronstadt, like that was phenomenal.
Absolutely. Oh God, that movie is so good. So good. That's, you know what? You talk Universal IP, that's in the Universal IP.
Yeah, that is definitely a Universal IP. And really quick, just because you had mentioned it, OG, you mentioned Pollyanna, another actually favorite non-animated, but Disney, is another Haley Mills movie I love, is the original 1961 The Parent Trap. Yep. Love The Parent Trap.
So good, so good. If you guys have, if everyone in the chat, if you have Disney Plus at home, which I'm sure you do, we're all Disney nerds here. Dip into some of those old Disney movies, like the live action ones, like Parent Trap, Pollyanna, Treasure Island. There's a lot.
Blackbeard's Ghost. Yeah. Blackbeard's Ghost. I've never seen that movie. I never even heard of it before until Disney Plus, and that movie, for it being an older type movie, is freaking hilarious. I love that movie. And as a fun fact, I think I mentioned it before, the actor who plays Blackbeard does the voice of Prince John in Robin Hood.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yes. Kaylee here says, if you could add one ride or attraction to each land at Disneyland, what would it be? Okay, this is a tough one. Okay, so Fantasyland, I would go Tangled. I would want a Tangled dark ride at Disneyland. You can tear down the Fantasyland theater. I know it's controversial, but I just think it's ugly. I'd rather have Tangled. So tear that down, put it there. In Toontown, I would give us if you could fit it, a nice little Oswald dark ride. The whole ride could be in black and white. I think it'd be awesome with Hortensia, who I think is adorable. I love Hortensia. Very cute ride for Toontown. Frontierland's a little harder. Man, like realistically, they would probably put a Woody ride, but that's not really, I wouldn't want that. I would do like the Western River Expedition, but we're talking like pipe dream. It's never going to happen. But if it was up to OG, it'd be like the Western River Expedition. I think that'd be dope. And then Tomorrowland, see, that's a tough one for me because there's not much out there. Maybe some version.
Somewhere out there, OG.
Yeah, somewhere out there. Maybe some version of like, dude, I don't know. Like Tomorrowland's tough. That's a tough one. Adventureland, I would kind of go maybe like Moana, if you could fit it. I think Moana would fit well, like theme wise, into that land. I just don't know about Tomorrowland. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I got to think about that. What about you, George?
Okay, so for me, for Adventureland, Okay, now this is going to sound completely out there, somewhere out there. Um, sorry, that's my puns for tonight. Yeah. That Disney doesn't really have a because we were talking because Kiki and Luca, I believe they mentioned about like what's your favorite like date night at Disneyland, and honestly, the parks don't really have like that kind of tunnel of love sort of thing. So in Adventureland, I would actually put like a tunnel of love type of attraction, but base it off of the short "I Lava You."
Oh, look at George, Mr. Romantic coming out. That's a good one, though, dude.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, your reaction was priceless. That was awesome.
That's a good one. No, I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
I love that short. So I think that'd be cool, man. I like that. I like that a lot.
That's what I would put in Adventureland. Tomorrowland, for me, I guess something with the deal with Wall-E. I do love Wall-E. I think that would just be the only choice at this point, or maybe something with Big Hero 6. Like in that retrospect, I feel like that would probably be the only route to go with Tomorrowland at this point.
I think Wall-E, because I think Big Hero 6, now that you have San Francisco over BCA.
Right. Yeah, so I would do something with Wall-E. And Wall-E's, I think, honestly, one of the top-notch Disney Pixar movies, so I'm surprised they didn't do anything with him in general. Let me go around. Fantasyland. Okay, so I'm probably going to get canceled for this one.
Uh-oh. Cancel George.
So I would kind of go a little bit of a route of what Walt Disney World did with the new Fantasyland, of how they took out Snow White's Scary Adventures because of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I am not saying that because I love Snow White's Enchanted Wish. So calm down, people. Just hold your horses here. But this is where I'm going to get canceled. First, I just have to say, I do love Peter Pan's Flight. I really do. However, the amount of time to wait for that ride is... The truth always comes after the however. Yeah.
Here we go.
However, the amount of time to wait for that ride, I'm sorry. I do love that ride, but I feel like if they were to do something, take Peter Pan's Flight out, then they have an empty space that they could do something else with. But I would then converge the submarine voyage as part of a new Fantasyland, and you'd have the Mermaid Lagoon, you could have Skull Rock, and I would kind of have an immersive Neverland new update version of Peter Pan.
I'd be down for that. Peter Pan is a high fantasy, crazy kind of... It just has so much potential, right? And we're seeing it over in Tokyo with what they're doing over there. I would love for that attraction to get an upgrade and to have something like that. What we see in Tokyo come here to Anaheim. And maybe we will. Maybe in the chat.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, maybe we will see that, because with Disneyland Forward, there were they were using that in the concept art like as a possibility. And we had Ken Potrock, Disneyland president, out there in Asia checking out all these new additions. It's possible, but there is that grace period though that Tokyo has, which might limit a little bit of that. So
I love Peter Pan's Flight. I love Peter Pan, love the franchise. I would just love to see them do a little bit more with it, because to be quite frank, I've been on both variations of Peter Pan's Flight at Walt Disney World and Disneyland. And the Disneyland, although there are certain special effects, like with the night sky and the town of London down below, that they do phenomenal, and even in the very beginning of the ride where you're in the Darling House and what have you.
Right.
But the Disneyland version of Peter Pan's Flight is very, I don't want to say rough, but there's like certain aspects of it, like it needs like some oil like onto that track, because it can get kind of choppy.
Yeah, it can. It can. Kaylee here says, maybe and I are the double E squad. That's true. You guys both have the double E's at the end. I like that. That.
That's cool.
Very stylish. Very, very stylish. We got maybe here with Shut It Down. Now, George, you probably don't know what reference that is, but it's a Blackpink reference. And it's
is that what it was? I thought she was interpreting Gordon Ramsay from Hell's Kitchen.
No. No. It's now Kaylee. That's a banger song. Shut It Down. I like Lisa's little rap on there where she goes, a rock star, a pop star, but rowdier. That whole section is that's my favorite part of that entire song. It is dope. A rock star. Okay, so let's see here. Where else? I'm gonna find where I am before I lose myself. All right. Hey, troublemakers. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday with their friends and family. Yeah, Slimer. And because we got Slimer in the house. George, you know what that means, man?
Yeah, we got to.
And all these dollars got commas that come with commas behind them. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming.
There we go. And I'm kind of going through the chat right now, trying to find some questions. Daddy Josh ain't ready. Michael Eva, you are so right about that. He is not ready to be CEO. I think he's barely making it as a parks guy, you know? And you also have to remember, too, that Hollywood and Wall Street didn't like a parks person running the company with Chapek. They didn't like that. They like to have a little bit more of the Hollywood, you know. Disney historically has had studio people running this company, and it makes sense. Disney is a studio first. I know theme park people, they get kind of like weird about that whenever I say that, but it's a studio first. Roy Disney, the nephew, Roy Disney said it. I believe it was in Waking Sleeping Beauty, where he said Disney is, will, and will always be the heartbeat of Disney is and will always be the film business. And he's right about that. It is the heartbeat of the company. It what fuels literally everything, including the theme parks. So you need, I think, a studio person. And Josh being a parks guy, and the last parks guy didn't work out. It doesn't bode well for Josh being chosen.
The only way it would have worked out that way, because Staggs was a park guy, it's a guy that had a lot of diversity of understanding the company, on top of just being the chairman of the parks. You know, if you're just a parks guy and you can't really understand even what you're doing with that, on top of trying to finagle the other aspects of the company, it's you're walking into failure even before you even start.
Yeah, no, 100%. Alia Aloha says here, if Disney announces the purchase of Candle Media, or if Mayer and Staggs dissolve Candle Media, that will be a huge sign that one or both are the successor. Oh, Alia, 100% agree. If there's any kind of movement with Candle Media, it's game over. Absolute game over. We are getting Staggs and Meyer. You know, so keep an eye on that. Absolutely. So that's gonna be interesting. I'm rooting for these guys. I hope we get the dynamic duo. I hope we get Mayer and Staggs in there. I think they have what it takes to do this. We'll just see if Bob Iger and the board agree. You know, hopefully they do. Now watch, because I said like, oh, you know, Daddy Josh ain't it. Tomorrow
it's gonna be him.
Yeah, they'll announce Daddy Josh is it. You know, of course.
Yeah. They'll announce it tomorrow.
Yeah, they'll announce it. Yeah. They'll announce it tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. There's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, right?
That's it.
And maybe it says here, what's something on your dream Christmas list that money can buy if you had Bob Iger money to spend? What's the one thing, George? You got Iger money, man. You got La Lisa money. Okay, you can buy anything you want. What do you buy?
I think I don't know if I could buy it. Well, I guess if it's with that money, or even at least rent out, I would literally either rent or buy out an entire Disney cruise ship.
Oh, that's interesting.
Just like I could literally like pick the route that it goes, like the destinations, and it's just like invite who I want on. And still have it not like as an empty ghost ship. I still have the impeccable service that Disney Cruise Line. But that's probably what I would do. I would like buy out just one Disney ship.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's baller status, George.
Yeah.
You know, I would do. I would actually buy. I would build a house, a huge one, a huge house, and I would theme elements in the house to like the different various Disneylands, but subtle though, right? Subtle, not like too crazy, but like have like a Fantasyland wing where it's like this kind of this European village like kind of architecture and
That'd
have
be
another
kinda
wing.
cool.
Yeah, where it's a little more futuristic with like monorail windows, and stuff like that. Like just a dope like Disney park house. I think like Tony Baxter actually did a little bit of that in his house, and yeah, I would do that maybe. Just have a really like tricked out like Disney park house. Be kind of cool. And then I would hop on George's rented out cruise ship. Call it a day. Call
There
it
you go.
a day. Let me see here. Let me see. Michael Ebba. Disney, I think, needs dual leadership. I agree,
Absolutely.
Mr. Ebba. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We need that dual leadership. It's been a proven thing since the beginning, right? With Walt and Roy. It worked. It worked with Eisner and Wells. Bring it back. Absolutely. Bring it back. BJ Vincent, one of two. I don't see part 2 though, BJ, but we'll come to it eventually, I'm sure. Back in 2006, Stay Alive was a slasher movie released by Hollywood Pictures and was also Disney's only slasher film. I did not know that.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I did not know that. Haley with 2 E's. What was your favorite Christmas present you got yesterday? Go ahead, George. You start us off. Favorite
Well,
Christmas present you got yesterday?
I think that I got, and I still actually didn't get yours, OG. I'm still waiting on your package to come, brother. So I'm for sure it's still on its way.
Yeah.
So I can't unfortunately contact because I don't know what that is yet. But
Yeah.
But I think out of everything, it was actually a gift I got from our good friend Mindy. She got me it's like a dark green leather jacket that it's a Disneyland jacket, but on the back it's like a old like retro Tomorrowland. And I'm a sucker for those kind of things. I love a good leather jacket. I love a good suede jacket. So and it's Disney and it's Disney themed. So
Nice.
I think out of everything thus far, that's been my favorite gift thus far.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my favorite, I did get yours in the mail, and I think yours is my favorite. It's actually, you can kind of see.
Is it back here? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, you got me a lot of Blackpink stuff, like albums, all kinds of like awesome. So that's definitely my favorite, brother. This guy knows me very, very well. Very, very well. Let me see here. We got Kaylee. What Disney movie could you see being a Broadway musical next? I don't know. That's interesting.
I got one.
Go for it.
I would absolutely love to see Hercules. I would love to see Hercules as a Broadway musical because you got that heroic adventure, you have that comedy style, but the music is what for me is what ties in for a great Broadway musical.
Go the Distance is one of the great Disney songs.
Oh my gosh, like that's phenomenal. And I love how just in the animated film alone that they mixed in the Greek mythology of the story, but tied it into gospel music. Like it was just like it's a blend that you don't really think would work, but it actually kind of worked, like that Southern Baptist gospel type of thing with the muses and everything.
Right.
So I feel like that would be a phenomenal show to turn into Broadway.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said before, I'm a big Tangled guy. I would love to see Tangled. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Even Moana, though. Moana has some great songs. I think that'd be interesting to do for a Broadway show. So, yeah, we'll see. Now, George, have you seen any of the Disney on Broadway stuff?
I have. Yep.
Which ones have you seen?
Actually, I have those programs with my Disney on Ice ones as well. So
there you go. Look at you, nerd.
I'm a nerd, man. The very first Disney on Broadway show I ever saw was Beauty and the Beast. That was back in 2001 when it came to Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And I remember, actually, if anybody remembers, if you were around during that time, I believe it was back in 1993 or 1994, they had a special on, and it was for the grand opening of Beauty and the Beast on Broadway when it opened in New York, and they had all the celebrities out there. They had Regis Philbin, they had Donnie and Marie Osmond there, and Jerry Orbach, who did the voice of Lumiere, hosted that special, and they took you through the ins and outs the behind the scenes backstage area during production and how they did the casting. They talked to the original cast, which Susan Egan, who I'm a huge fan of, she was the original Broadway Belle, who also does the voice of Megara in Hercules. And has also been in a movie. I'm really going to date myself. It was a Disney Channel original movie called Gotta Kick It Up. She was the dance teacher in that movie, and I just completely dated myself with that.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
But yeah, Beauty and the Beast, the Lion King, still for me, hands down. Whether it's a Disney Broadway show or just Broadway in general, the Lion King so far cannot be beat as far as being one of the greatest Disney Broadway shows of all time.
Yeah,
the music, the acting, the costumes, that was made by the brilliant Jolie Taymor, who did the costuming. Oh my god, she won a Tony, I believe, for that, and it was.
This is amazing. George is amazing. We did. I think it was the Bad Thoughts podcast. I'm sorry, it wasn't Bad Thoughts. We did we did a show with Jay about his short film,
right?
And we're talking about Jaws, and this guy right here, he busts out the first and last name of the editor for Jaws. Like, George, like, how do you know this stuff? And now the costume person name for the amazing, absolutely amazing. I don't know how he does it every single time.
Brother.
Every single time. No, but yeah, I've only seen two. I've only seen Beauty and the Beast long time ago, many moons ago, like early 90s. So I'm dating myself right now, George, big time. And early 90s, saw Beauty and the Beast, loved it. And then I think it was around 2004, I saw Lion King on Broadway over in Orange County. I think it was like in Costa Mesa or something. And
but you said 2004?
I believe so.
That's when I saw it. So we probably saw the same production. It was probably on tour.
I wonder. Were you, and you saw it in Costa Mesa, or?
No, I seen it in Pittsburgh, but it was the same. They were doing, I guess, the first national tour of it, and I believe it was in 2004.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, we probably did, dude. Yeah. We probably did. It was a great show. Really, really good. When that music comes up, amazing, absolutely amazing. Michael Ebba, why doesn't Disney do any more Disneyland type movies, aka Disneyland sing-alongs? Which I had all those when I was a kid.
Man, Michael, you done did it now, dude.
Tell us who produced each one of those, George. I'm sure you know the first and last names of every one of them.
Michael, honestly, just like with Disney on Ice and the Disney Broadway shows, the original Disney content that I grew up with, which you mentioned about like the Disney sing-along songs. Again, my very first ever Disney sing-along was Disneyland Fun. Right. That's what actually got me into actually understanding that this was a real place, that you could actually go to these Disney parks and see these characters and ride these rides and live this immersive storytelling type of adventure. But yeah, even like with like you had like the animated Disney sing-alongs like Hi Ho, A Friend Like Me, You Can Fly, Bare Necessities, Under the Sea. But yeah, I do also love the original Disney sing-along songs that they actually filmed at Walt Disney World. They did the camping at Walt Disney World.
Right.
They did the beach day at Walt Disney World. Then they did Let's Go to the Circus, where they actually Disney teamed up with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, for that one. Where little Taj Mowry was actually in that sing-along.
It's crazy.
The younger brother of Tia and Tamara Mowry.
Do you remember making memories, making memories,
taking pictures, we're making memories, catch a little. Oh God, I can just keep going.
Keep going, George. Keep going.
Making them yours, making them mine.
Fantastic. No, those were bangers. Those were bangers, Kaylee. Those were bangers. Okay, so AKA Disneyland Sing Along and A Day at Disneyland. I guess we have YouTube now for people who can't go to the parks. Yeah, it was a different era. And unfortunately, the sing along and all that stuff kind of died off.
And honestly, I think kids today, it's just that time era. You put on a Disney sing along song, they're gonna look at you saying, "What is this? Take this off." It's like kids today aren't into that kind of stuff. But I mean, as I said, I'll put on a Disney sing along, and rewatch it for old nostalgia purpose, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Kaylee here says thoughts on Malaburritos. Okay, so I don't think I've ever eaten there, to be honest, but
I haven't either, so you guys are going to have to enlighten me on that.
Yeah, I haven't eaten there, but I gotta say though, that was part of DCA 1.0, and it was aesthetically so ugly. Like that whole area was so ugly until they redid it with Midway Mania. I think Midway Mania actually replaced Malaburritos, I believe. And that area really just got so much nicer with the Victorian architecture and all that stuff. I just hated that the aesthetics of it all. But I can't comment on the food, Kaylee, because I've never had a Malaburrito.
But kind of sticking on to that subject matter, if you go down to Pixar Pier,
right?
Have you ever had a Buzz Lightyear churro?
No.
Okay, it for me, it's not like a Disneyland churro. For some reason, the Buzz Lightyear churros, they remind me of Walt Disney World churros.
So
it's like gnawing on a piece of cardboard with sugar on it.
Yeah.
But I love the chicken at the Chicken Palace. Okay. That's one of my favorite stops. If anyone has never had the chicken from the Poultry Palace down at Pixar Pier with the chili lime corn on the cob, you're missing out. Because it's really good.
Now I'm hungry. Thanks, George.
You're welcome.
We got maybe with 2 E's. Bad thoughts. OG55 announcement. Yeah, look out for that announcement. Yes. It's a biggie. Let me see here. Speaking of bad thoughts, we got Candy Camper. Just stop giving us those dirty Disney fries. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Like McDonald's fries, get them in the parks. Candid continues with just stop. Oh wait, hold on one second. There we go. Continues with, if they do Taylor Swift, I will throw myself into Bay Lake. See, that he was talking about Rock and Roller Coaster. If they put Taylor Swift in there, he'll throw himself into Bay Lake. So you heard it here first, folks. Candid will throw himself into Bay Lake.
Candid, can you just do that anyway so I can catch that on camera?
Right, exactly. Okay, now we're pushing 2 hours and 15, so I'm going to try to get down to the next question. I do apologize, everybody. Let me see here. Michael Ebba. Could we Rock and Roller Coaster in Space Mountain updated with new projection mapping technology? I think that'd be cool. I think that would be very, very cool. I think that would be awesome if they could do that. Space Mountain, I don't know, something about like when they do like the Star Wars overlay? Mm-hmm. Just there's something like, I don't know, man. Like when they have like the TIE fighters, it just looks kind of cheap to me. I don't know. I think there's a better way they can do projections in there. Somehow, some way, they got to figure that out.
Well, I just think they just kind of, and I understand why they do it, but they just kind of overflow Star Wars with everything. They got Star Tours still at Tomorrowland. Then you retheme Space Mountain, but then you have Galaxy's Edge. It's literally, they built Galaxy's Edge just so they don't have to utilize Galaxy's Edge. They do everything added still into Tomorrowland.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like, I don't get it.
It's bizarre. But yeah, I'm all for production mapping technology. I think that'd be really, really cool. I had an idea a long time ago. If they were to retheme Mission Breakout to a Doctor Strange attraction, because then you can have projection mapping and have like, in the movie Doctor Strange, like how everything is like warped and twisted and like crazy, like almost like Inception. You can have the elevator shaft go up and down with these crazy Inception style projections.
That would be cool.
That would be, I think it'd be really dope, dude. If it was like a Doctor Strange ride, that would be pretty sick, but it's probably never going to happen. And, we love our Mission Breakout. So, we're fine. Let me see here. BJ Vincent, back in 2006, Stay Alive was a slasher movie released by Hollywood Pictures and was Disney's only slasher film. Not counting any from Dimension Films before 2005, nor those inherited from 20th Century Fox catalog. Would you like to see Disney go ball to the wall to create a horror slasher movie? I wouldn't want to see them do that in a Disney umbrella necessarily, but if they want to dip into that world, they can do that with like if it was a Fox movie.
That's what I was,
Yeah. I mean, Universal kind of dips into that a little bit, right? Isn't like Five Nights at Freddy's? Isn't that sort of like a kind of a horror thing?
Yeah.
And that, what was that one with the little girl? I forgot. Oh God, what was that?
Megan.
Megan, things like that. I mean, if Disney wants to dive into that stuff, it's pretty inexpensive. The budgets for those kind of movies are pretty small. You make a lot of money if they do well. I'm okay with that, but I just don't think it's appropriate for the Disney brand necessarily.
Yeah.
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 Let me see here. Michael Ebba, music really makes or breaks movies, shows, and games for me. It's one of the reasons why I love Disneyland is the era, the land music that makes you feel like you're part of the fantasy. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Especially
on Main Street. Like the music, the oh man, take me back to Main Street, man. That's like that's awesome.
Now, it makes a big difference, and that's one of the big criticisms, right, with Galaxy's Edge. There's no music, so it feels kind of lifeless,
I have to say, folks, this is a real treat for you. This is the most I've sang in front of people in God knows how long. So take this and ride with it, because
yeah, exactly. just take it and hold on one sec. I have a drop for that, George. Take that and ride with it.
God, I sound like a Bob Iger dick rider.
There we go. sorry. Maybe here says Chile single moms would love George strictly for his Phil Collins knowledge. Oh yeah. Oh my God, George. Come on now, bro. You get all the ladies, man.
That's how I roll. That's
single moms. Single moms.
All the single ladies. All the single ladies.
There you go. Michael, games are also becoming a lot more like movies now with the in-depth stories they can tell, motion capture environments. Absolutely. And we got Matthew Murr. Phil Collins was the drummer for Band-Aid, which you mentioned, George, a precursor to We Are the World. Both Band-Aid and We Are the World were designed to relieve a famine in Ethiopia in the mid-1980s.
That was it. Thank you for clarifying that, Matthew. I knew it was something. I couldn't remember what it was, but thank you for that.
And Ali Aloha, a lot of Universal's animation is overseas, though. That's one of the reasons why their budgets are lower with animation. That is absolutely correct. And this is one of the worries I think Ali and I both share when people talk about Disney having to lower their budgets, right? Like they do have to get them down. My fear, and I think Ali's fear as well, is that they're going to lower it the wrong way. They're going to say, you know what? We're going to ship out these animation jobs from Burbank and we're going to go overseas like Universal does. I don't want that. We have 100-year-old legacy here with Walt Disney Studios. Keep animation in Burbank. Disney, there's a million ways you can lower budgets. Don't go that route. Please do not go that route. Alia continues. Matt Bellani, who's a Hollywood insider for those at home that are not aware, revealed that the Walt Disney Company's animation budgets are high because of U.S. salaries and research and development. Without sending jobs overseas, maybe budgeting should change. Yeah. They got to do something. But we can't lose. I don't know. That's the issue with the budgeting stuff is because when you cut, you risk cutting quality too, right? Because that research and development goes to like new animation techniques, new styles, new technology to make animation better. That's a problem. You cut into that, and you're not innovating anymore, right? So it's a balancing act. Absolutely. Give me 1 second while I Candace said let's go to Vegas. Are you guys all down in the chat? Should we all go to Vegas together? Let's just all go together.
Let's just all go to Vegas.
Let's just all go together. That would be absolutely amazing. Okay, so let me see here. I'm kind of going through here. People are kind of giving their suggestions for bingeable shows. Candid Camper and maybe is saying Psych. Psych is a really good show.
Actually, and now that I had time to think about it, but I can't remember the name of the show or what streaming service it was on, but it was about Vikings. It was like it was set in a time like back in the early settled years of the Vikings and what have you. And I can't remember if anyone in the chat has seen it or know what I'm talking about. I'll have to get the name of it, but I actually did watch that, and it's a very interesting type of outlook of the Vikings and the Norwegian culture.
Exactly. And maybe says Queen Charlotte is so good. My favorite show this year. Yes, maybe me too. I love that show so much. It is really, really good. Everyone, if you have Netflix, make sure you check out Queen Charlotte. And the young lady who plays Charlotte is absolutely amazing in it. absolutely amazing in it. So definitely check that out. Candid Camper, Goosebumps was surprisingly good. I didn't see
I do
that.
remember him saying that. I'm gonna have to give that a chance
check out?
too. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Kaylee here says, where do you get your plaid shirts? Actually, okay, a lot of my shirts are from a company called Travis Matthews. And I order most of them online, but I think like Bloomingdale's has them too sometimes. But yeah, Travis Matthews, it's just really good quality and the fits are really nice. So that's kind of my go-to. What about you, George? Where do you go shop?
I have to say, OG, those kind of shirts fit you well. Like it's definitely you. Me, I love those pinstriped button down shirts. I would pretty much wear them here, but the camera kind of cuts off my accentuating of my chest here, so I'm like, what's the point? Because it's it's like if I can't show my chest, then it's like,
why bother?
Why bother? Yeah, exactly. I guess, but I do. I love. I have many different styles. Like when I go to the parks, I love wearing Disney attire. I love wearing Disney t-shirts. I'm a huge fan of Disney t-shirts. I get them from like third-party online companies. My mom gets them for me, or sometimes I buy them directly from Shop Disney and what have you. And I've also, speaking of, I mentioned about this earlier about leather jackets. I actually just recently I treated myself to a gift for myself, to George from George. The Italiano to the Italiano. Forget about it. It's on a website called Box Lunch. And it is a leather jacket of Powerline. And so again, I'm a huge Goofy movie type of guy. But me, yeah, especially if I go out to a nice dinner, I love wearing a button down shirt, showing a little chest with my chains, my fedora hat. I go all Italian when I go all fancy.
There you go. Jonathan Wallace here says, with the upcoming Disney animated movies at Disney being nothing but sequels, will the failure of Disney's wish discourage them to make more original animated movies moving forward? We'll see, because we have to remember too, Elemental was original, and that movie, while it didn't do great initially, it legged out pretty good, right? Encanto, one of Disney's biggest franchises right now, is original, and while it didn't do that great in theaters, because I think the pandemic was still kind of fresh, it did amazing on Disney Plus. It's a strong franchise for them. So we have two really good franchises that were originals, right? That did well. I don't think they're completely out of the originals game, but I think the next few movies will probably be these sequels, because they need a hit like desperately right now, like a big hit. And that's why you're seeing Frozen and all that stuff. So I think for the time being, Jonathan, I think they're going to focus on the sure thing, but I don't think originals are out completely, because you have to remember too, every franchise started off as an original at one point. Frozen was an original thing at one point. So you can't just rest on current IP. Eventually you have to create new IP. And the only way you're going to create new IP is if you do something original. So what do you think?
And I think, honestly, it also goes by Disney itself, how they cross-promote and market the film. I think that's what hurt Elemental. And I also feel like that they need to come up with a new strategy on releasing these films and how they go about doing it, with tying it with the streaming service. Because if people know that Disney's going to release the movie and make it free,
right,
no one's going to go see it in theaters and pay that money, especially if they're already paying for the streaming service. They have to bring back that premiere access. They need to bring that back. Or, as I had mentioned, you don't make it free at all. It's either once it goes into the Disney Plus streaming service, it's not free until you buy it. Then it goes into your library for good.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Animation is going through a thing right now. Okay. We're seeing Migration did not perform well. I think for 4 days, it made like 17 million.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, to give a little context as to why he's doing that, he actually came up with an idea very similar to Migration. So he's a little, George, a little
just
salty.
A little salty. Just a little salty.
Little salty that Universal took his idea. You were probably sitting next to some Starbucks executive when you were down here in California one day, and you were talking about your idea, and that Universal executive was right there taking notes.
Taking notes. Yep.
Michael Ebba here says, so I've heard that CM unions aren't very strong. Is this true? What's the point of a union if they don't fight for the best workers' rights? You and you're paying dues. By the way, I'm ignorant of this. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Honestly, Michael, I'm not really too familiar with it as well. I mean, I think that they get paid decently, not great, but decently. Could be better, yeah. But the thing too, you have to also negotiate, right? So you always have to, when you come to the table here, both sides are going to have to give a little bit in order to get it through, in order to like move forward, and you're not always going to get what you want. So the unions probably want something stronger, but they know that Disney probably won't go for that. So at a certain point, you have to kind of like concede some things and, kind of get what you can get. But what are your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You have to give a little, take a little. You have to kind of meet someone, each other in the foreground. It can't be one side gets more over the other. I'm not too familiar with, all that behind the scenes stuff, so I can't really give too much intake on it because I don't want to say something that's falsified, but as just my opinion, both sides have to come to terms of meeting in the middle and come up to some sort of conclusion.
Yeah, 100%. Florentine says, do you both love Ghirardelli? I love their quality mint chocolate chip ice cream. At least in Walt Disney World, you don't need park entry. That is true. In California, you do. You need to go to DCA. Yeah, I'm a fan of their stuff. I think they have really, really good food. What about you, George? You enjoy Ghirardelli?
I do enjoy Ghirardelli.
Is it Ghirardelli or Ghirardelli?
I always say Ghirardelli. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. I say Ghirardelli. It is. But tomato, potato. It's the thing.
The thing. The thing that you think. but you like
I do enjoy. Yes, I do enjoy a good Ghirardelli. See, and it's funny. Then when I go to say I say Ghirardelli chocolate. It's almost like Caribbean and Caribbean. It's like I say it for certain things.
That's what I do too. I kind of mix it up, Yeah. Michael Ebba says here, it's not just House of Mouse Italiano. What about all the other content? These fools said they'd be opening their vault to dump onto Disney Plus, right? So where?
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Yes, they said everything in the Disney vault was going to be on there. Well, yeah, I get they like to stretch it out, but I mean, this is content that really only us diehard Disney fans really know and appreciate. A normie isn't going to understand the 1964 New York World's Fair, which they did promise us.
Right.
That we were supposed to get that documentary of Walt Disney's 1964 New York World's Fair special, and we have yet to got it. We had yet to get it, and I'm still very bummed about it. So yes, I'm right there with you, Michael, all the way.
Yep. No, 100%. Let me see here. I'm trying to find. Kaylee is asking, does anyone remember Rockin' Space Mountain? I think it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers they overlaid to the ride. I do remember that. It was Rocket Mountain, I believe. Wasn't it, Kaylee? Rocket Mountain? Yeah. I don't know. Did you ever experience that, George?
I haven't, but it sounds like a title for a very bad, dirty movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it totally does. And speaking of dirty, Bad Thought says, what's the best spot for
Jesus God
for a quickie?
I tell you, boys, I'm telling you right now, it is not the best place to do that kind of stuff at the parks. You do not. You will get your butts thrown out, trespassed, and forbidden.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The best spot for a quickie is in your house. Not at Disney. Not at Disney.
If you're on property and you're staying on property, go to your hotel room.
There you go. But maybe here it says Mark Twain's second story bathroom. Oh, God. This is absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. That's hilarious. That is really funny. Yeah, confessional. Yeah. This is the OG55 confessional. Everyone just, confess your sins. And we'll discuss
your sins of the flesh.
Yes. Okay, kind of going down the list here. And Jason Hill, solo trips can be fun. It allows you to go more often. I'm doing Tokyo Disney solo tomorrow. Ooh,
Oh
dang.
man.
Look at this fancy guy.
Why don't you come and pick me up? We'll do it solo together.
Yeah, exactly. Go solo together. Yeah, exactly. That is pretty great though, Jason. Have fun, brother.
Absolutely.
Man, we got to do that, George.
We got to do that, bro. We got to do it. We honestly, we just got to just say, you know what?
Let's go.
Screw it. Let's go.
The 15-hour flight. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I'm down. Absolutely down. Michael Ebba, have you guys done great moments with Mr. Lincoln? Oh, have I?
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
many times.
That's a Disneyland staple.
Yeah, that's a good one. Out of all my time going to Disneyland, I finally went through it for the first time earlier this year. Michael, what did you think? I actually love that. I know it's not like, it's not like a, like a crazy attraction. A lot of people don't really dig it because it's kind of like, if you're not like a Disney nerd, it can be kind of boring, you know, but I absolutely love it.
I do
absolutely love it. Let me see. Michael Ebba continues. I bet George looks majestic on ice. Ice, baby.
Michael, I love you, brother.
There we go. And Kaylee with 2 E's says, I want to go to Disney on Ice, but I feel like I'll be the only adult there without kids. Yeah.
I tell you, Kaylee, it's because honestly, I've done it and I couldn't give two craps. But mind you, now would I do that solo now? Probably not. I'd probably want to go with someone just like a 33-year-old, go into a Disney on Ice by himself. But I mean, hey, if someone asked me, it's like, hey, this was part of my childhood, so I'm just living out my nostalgia years. So
yeah, 100%. Candy Camper, watch our reaction videos at Bathhouse Studio to the new Percy Jackson every week. Yes. You know what? Candid Tones, I want to join you guys for some of these. I gotta watch it. I think they only dropped 2 episodes so far, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I'm gonna catch up. But hit
I
me
am
up
too, and then because I would love to actually get on that too because I love the Percy Jackson.
100%. Yeah, like let's do it. I'm absolutely on board. Favorite Sanrio character. Okay. Oh gosh, I always forget the guy's name. He's black with the little spiky hair. I don't know the name, but Kaylee, maybe you can help me out here. Black with the little spiky hair. He looks like a little penguin. I don't know his name, but George, what about you?
Actually, that would be mine. Yeah, I can't remember his name though.
Oh, are you lying, or you don't know what Sanrio characters look like?
No. That's exactly no. I actually I know who you're talking about though.
Yeah,
I just can't think of his. I just can't think of his name.
I like him, and I also like the frog, Karopi. I think his name is. If I'm not mistaken, little Karopi. It's pretty cool. Slimer here says, "If only George could serenade me every night." Do a little ASMR for you, too, Slimer. Absolutely.
I should make a CD.
Yeah, you should. You absolutely should.
George's greatest hits. The Italiano's greatest hits.
The Italiano. Leo CH, what Disney characters that you feel their personality or character is so relatable to you? Oh, George. You're the, as Navy says, you're the what is that? The what should you say? Relatable king. You are
relatable
the king. Well, as a relatable king, what Disney character is relatable to you?
Well, oh man, that's a okay. So the character, my all-time favorite Disney character. I don't know if any of you know this, but it's Jiminy Cricket. I always loved where he is that little voice behind your head that is either telling you it's either like a good idea or a bad idea, but he has like some of that comical insight where he's, I don't know, just something about that little guy he's just my all-time favorite Disney character. But as far as like the personality, I would kind of blend it with Jiminy Cricket with a little bit of Timon because of the sarcasm, and even a little bit, not the selfish side, because I'm definitely not selfish, but a little bit of Cusco.
Oh, interesting.
Only because of that slapstick kind of wit.
Right. Okay.
So you sprinkle a little bit of Jiminy Cricket, a little bit of Timon, a little bit of Cusco, And boom, you have the Italiano.
The Italiano. Yeah, I don't know who's relatable. I think. Oh man, who would be relatable? I don't know. I like Mickey because he's just like kind of like I'm for like my personality. I am kind of an optimist, you know, and I can kind of like Mickey. I see him as very much of like the forever optimist. So I think Mickey. You know, I like to look. I'm realistic, but I like to look on like the silver lining to things. You know, I don't like to just like kind of like, you know, beat that like negativity, doom and gloom drum. You know, hey, look, things are tough now, but we're going to get out of it, you know, or this is, you know, I like to have a little bit of that optimism, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel.
So you mean to tell me you're not an Eeyore? It's only for knots.
It's only for naught. Yeah, exactly. No, definitely not an Eeyore. Definitely not an Eeyore. And maybe, oh my God, OG's knows the whole shut it down rat. I know a little bit of it. A rock star, a pop star, say goodbye to the paparazzi, get on my good side, smile for me. I don't know. I can do a little bit of it. But yeah, it's a great song. It's an absolute banger squared, as Slimer would say. Let's see here. Let me see what else. I'm trying to find a question here. Oh, here. Michael Madsen. Michael Madsen, do you prefer DCA's Tower of Terror or Mission Breakout? George, which one do you prefer?
Mission Breakout, all the way for DCA's ride. Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios, for sure. But if we're only speaking for Disney California Adventure, I love Mission Breakout. I love the storyline that they gave it. I love the intensity that it because I'm a thrill junkie. I do love a good ride, and I always love the fact that when I'm in the park with OG, he's like, "You go do that. I'll meet you right at the exit."
Yeah. Yeah, that's why when we went to Boogie Bash, we had the tour guide with us or whatever, and I was like, "You and tour guide Jackie have a blast. I'll be at the exit waiting for you." You know, it's a little too intense for me. I'm glad they added it to DCA. It's a fan favorite, even though it's not for me. It's a fan favorite. But
and you have done it because I have rode it with you several times. It's just not your cup of tea.
Not my cup of tea, you know. But it's a good addition to the park. But I think I prefer the old Tower of Terror because that one gives you a little more room to breathe and a little bit more enjoyable. Mission Breakout is a little too like all at once, like nonstop. So I was like, you know. Now maybe is saying try the Buzz Lightyear churro.
Okay, so I think she's saying, it looks like she's writing it down. I think she's gonna try it. Correct me if that's how I understood it. Yeah, maybe try it. Just my opinion, it falls flat compared to the Disneyland churros, but as I said, if you're at the pier, try the Poultry Palace chicken with the chili lime corn on the cob. It's really good. It's a banger.
It's a banger. And Ali Aloha here says, I heard music at Galaxy's Edge. You know, when you go into the land, there's like that tunnel that has music, but once you get into Galaxy's Edge, there's no music. All you hear are like spaceships and like droids and like sound effects. They really need to add some sort of like alien band, like a roaming alien band, dun 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 dun, something kind of funky like that in that land to really spruce it up a little bit. Because like I said before, Galaxy's Edge is a really aesthetically pleasing land. It's really dope, but it just needs a little bit more life with a little music, a little something. You know, what are your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah, absolutely. I've said this time and time again. It's aesthetically pleasing as a land. Like when you look at it and all the nooks and crannies, it's very, very detailed. But they need to flesh that out with some meat and potatoes in that pot. Like they need, as OG mentioned, they need like a space band. They need more interaction with the characters, what have you. They need creatures. They need aliens. They need droids. They need the freaking banthas, for crying out loud. They need to bring the banthas.
Yep, exactly. And Oakview Films, nice of you to join us. Oakview, thank you so much, brother. Given the high number of big budget flops in 2023, do you see Disney ever going back to the singles and doubles strategy of the 80s and 90s? I'm not familiar with what you mean by that strategy of the singles and doubles. I'm sorry, Oakview. I'm not familiar with what you're referring to. If anyone in the chat knows what that means, I'm not really sure, brother. Not really sure.
Yeah. Really quick, up a little bit before you scroll down. Where'd it go? Oh, Kaylee said that she wants to hang out at the Grand Floridian. Kaylee, as I said, when you're there, we'll show you how you did. We'll hang out at the Grand Californian. We'll get an Italian sandwich, hang out.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Absolutely, Kaylee. Absolutely. Let me see here. Kind of going through the chat. Oh, and Oakview, by the way, says it's Ghirardelli. There's a painting of a parrot that shows how to pronounce it in Ventura County. Well, see, there you go. It's Ghirardelli. And I always say Ghirardelli. Okay.
Okay, so majority of the times I have it right.
Yeah. No, exactly. Tomato, George.
Potato. Potato. That's how we do it.
That's how we do's it. Kaylee says, and yes, that song from American Tail is a banger. I totally forgot about that movie. And not only did Kaylee, you have 2 E's, but you added 1, 2, 3. Is that 5 E's for movie? Man,
that's some signature right there.
There you go. That's styling. That's styling. Yeah, American Tail is a beautiful movie. Beautiful movie. Let me see here. I'm kind of going through everything, and we're going to be wrapping it up pretty soon, everybody. We are pushing almost 3 hours.
And for all you who stuck around and enjoyed the chat and the conversation, we really do appreciate it.
We appreciate it so much. George and I really look forward to these live shows with everybody. It's a lot of fun for us. We love talking to you guys, hanging out. It's just great. We have a great community, and it means the world to us. Like I said so many times, I can't say it enough. Everyone has so many options nowadays with, how they can spend their time with the content they watch, and the fact that you all spend even, if you stick with us for the whole 2 hours or even just 20 minutes, we appreciate you so much. It really does mean the world to us. Michael Ebba here says, speaking of droids, where did the new little droids that were shown off a few weeks ago disappear to? Yeah, see, that's the problem. See, remember, George, we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
When they rolled out that Zootopia animatronic, the freestanding animatronic, I'm like, that's cool. But are we ever going to see it in the parks? The cute little beady droids at Galaxy's Edge, one day, and now they're gone. We saw Lucky the Dinosaur in like 2003. They rolled him out for maybe 4 or 5, showings. Never seen him again. The big Hulk thing that we had at Avengers Campus, never saw it again. It was like one and done. That's an issue.
So it's like, they bring these spectacular things up, but then after so long, you're like, okay, that's cool. But then it's like, just showcasing it on the stage one time isn't going to do nothing for me. I want to see it incorporated in the parks.
Exactly. Okay, so Oakview here says singles and doubles mean they release smaller budgeted films that are less of a risk for flopping, but aren't expected to be billion-dollar films. Example, a movie budgeted for $40 million expected to make $200 to $30 million. Yeah, they might do that. He goes on to say here, it was a common strategy in the 80s and 90s with Touchstone, Good Morning Vietnam, Splash, and Three Men and a Baby are examples. They absolutely might go with that. Absolutely, Oakview. You got.
I could actually add one on to that as well. Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. Love that movie.
You love that movie, really?
I do. Yes,
wow.
I love Sister Act. I love I enjoyed the sequel, Back in the Habit, but I preferred the first one.
Yeah, well, the sequel, was that direct to video or is that in theaters?
I think that one was also in theaters. It just didn't get as much critical acclaim as the first one.
Interesting. Seymour Duck is in the house. We love Mr. Seymour Duck with Wonka and the color purple. Seymour. With Wonka and the color purple doing great. Joker 2 and Mean Girls reboot being a musical in 2024. Also, Jack Black wanting Mario 2 to be a musical. Are musicals making a comeback? I'm telling you, they kind of are. They kind of are. And the thing with musicals is that you get that money from the movie and theaters. You get that money from the streaming, but you also get the money from the music. So it incorporates one more revenue stream. So, maybe over here says, oh my God, I did a Sister Act 2 dance for a talent show in middle school.
Oh, wait, maybe. Okay. So Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like when you say a Sister Act 2 dance, was it for a particular scene from the movie? Was it with a particular song from the movie? I'm curious.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
that is interesting. And so, wow, that's wild. I don't think I've seen the first one. I don't think I've ever seen the second one.
I still enjoyed the second one. I really did. They're a nice pair. Like like the first one is a little bit for my tasting, but I still enjoyed number 2. And actually, they're working, I believe, on a number 3. They're actually working because Whoopi Goldberg actually left The View for several days, and she actually went out to the Vatican, and she kind of hinted that she was kind of looking at certain locations for Sister Act 3.
Whoa. Okay. Interesting. They could, they can bring those kind of like what Oakview was saying, those kind of like those lower budget movies. They can kind of do that, like those Touchstone years, like Cool Runnings, another example of that, right?
Oh, I love Cool Runnings.
They could do that. That wouldn't be such a bad idea. Speaking of musicals, are you guys excited for Sister Act 3? George
Seymour.
George and Navy, are you guys excited for Sister Act 3?
I'm very curious if they bring back. I mean, I know a lot of the actresses that portrayed the nuns. I mean, obviously, are not with us anymore. However. Yeah. Who wants a little piece of a fun fact film history?
Who was the editor for Sister Act 2, George? First and last name. I'm sure you know it.
Okay. So one of the nuns that was in the original film, Beth Fowler, she was the original Mrs. Potts of Beauty and the Beast on Broadway.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Interesting. And then Seymour says you beat him to it. You beat him.
Two great minds think alike, Seymour.
Yeah. Oh, here. Joyful. My friends wanted me to do the rap part.
Oh, okay.
Nice. That's awesome, baby. That's
joyful,
awesome.
Joyful. Oh, we adore thee. Oh man. Okay.
Can you do
I gotta hear maybe do the rap. Joyful. No, we adore thee, and in my life.
Damn, George. Yeah. Damn. Yeah, we gotta get you to watch Shutdown so you can do
you know what, honestly I'm gonna like really take some time once I have some downtime and like really go through the Blackpink.
I want to hear you do some of these rap verses, dude.
I will. I'm gonna listen to some Blackpink when I have the downtime because you got me like really intrigued. Yeah.
There we go. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We got Maybe with 2 E's. We got Kaylee with 2 E's. We got Mr. Seymour Dex, Slimer, Oakview. Oh, so many people. We have Ali Aloha, Quarantine, BJ Vincent, Kenny Camper, Tones, Michael Ebba, Barry Place, 28, Jason Hill. There's so many people. Thank you all so much for coming out today and talking shop with us. We have a big announcement with the guys from the Bad Thoughts podcast coming very, very soon. It is going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think you will all very much enjoy it. So thank you all so much for watching. And George, if you could remind everybody at home where they can find your sexy Italiano ass, please.
Absolutely. And again, as OG had mentioned before, we really greatly appreciate you guys coming on and chatting with us and hanging out. We do love doing it. We kind of got into the live streaming. I mean, we're still going to be doing pre-recorded videos to release for you all, but I mean, we really got into the lives. We love it, talking with you guys, interacting with you guys, hanging out, chilling, doing whatever. And we really do appreciate it. And so thank you very much.
I completely agree. I think that deserves a...
Yeah, buddy.
There we go.
You got to get a yeah, buddy in there. Absolutely.
And really quick, Kaylee, I briefly saw your message that you actually have all the Disney on Ice programs that you went to. So we have to talk about that because we got to compare and contrast to see which ones you've seen and which ones I've seen. That's going to be interesting.
Now, to answer Ollie's question, the King Charles actually separated the Blackpink girls in that clip. They went to Buckingham Palace recently, and the girls were at different tables. And yeah, so it was.
See, this is where you get the best of both worlds, folks. If you want any kind of cinema knowledge, if you want any kind of like behind the scenes, like name drops, you could just come to me. But if you need to know anything broken down with Blackpink of what and why and where, it's this guy right over here. He got the receipts.
I got the goods. I got the receipts. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Awesome time with everybody. We will do this again very, very soon.
And really quick. And then on top of the Bad Thoughts podcast announcement, OG and I are also in talks to kind of come up with some more big announcements. So definitely tune in for when that will be. We'll probably drop it once we get all the info kind of together. We'll probably drop that on a live as well. So big things to come for the OG55 channel is in 2024. As Kaylee says, it's going to be a banger.
Gonna be a banger. And speaking of bangers, we got to end this show with a little La Lisa. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time we meet again, have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye, everybody.